said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
And Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life. I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question.
It makes absolutely no sense. That is the Commonwealth grasping at straws. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck.
We have the 8 letters. We've seen them. We've read them. We are using them. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle.
Yeah, LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned, we dive into the pond. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Peeling back the layers, exposed the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, go. Niggas can live in the shine, but then I'm not talking about it, that's so. Look at the place in your phone. Look into it, you lie. Look into it, you lie. We thought it done. Yeah, we thought it died. I don't know what it about. I break down true crime, I'm done with dark realities every time. This year. I break down true crime, I'm done with dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to LTL True Crime. I want to welcome everybody into the live show. It is January 23rd, 2024, and it is a Tuesday night, and you know what that means. This is the Canton Select Board meeting stream. I'm going to stream the Select Board meeting. We should see Rita and Jen there tonight. I call Jen the Bull, and we'll see some interesting things about some... and I just totally lost the word for it. I cannot think right now. I literally cannot think of what I'm talking about. Oh, I totally just forgot what I was gonna say. I'm so sorry. It happens. I've been working overtime. Yes, free Karen Reed. I've been working way too overtime. Overtime. Damn, it's got to come back to me. I totally just lost my train of thought. But anyway, welcome in. We're going to do the select board meeting at 7. Yeah, total brain fart. I've literally, I can see it. I can see what I want to say, but I can't. Billboards. That's it. We're going to find out hopefully tonight what this budget of the billboards are in and around Canton. I know that was the disputed thing last time, so hopefully we get some answers, but I'm going to be amazed we probably won't get some answers tonight. But what we do have some answers on is I have a new document. I'm going to be reading that in quite a second. Yeah, Courtney's asking, what is the new Karen Read document? Yes. Well, let's do this. Let's pull it up for everybody and we will read through it. And you'll have to deal with me for the next 20 minutes until the select board meeting starts. No, it's great. It's a great night. I love being here. I love being here with all of you. All right, here we go. We have a decision. We have a decision from Auntie Bev. And by the way, I may have a guest host tonight. They may be joining me. So if they do, they have the link and they can jump on. Okay. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Commonwealth versus Karen Read. Of decision in order of the Commonwealth's motion of the records. The defendant, Karen Read, is charged with murder in the second degree in violation of Code GLC. I'm not going to read all the codes. Manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol in the violation of and leaving the scene of personal injury and death in violation of the charges arise from death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Gee, it's nice that they actually put that in there because when we were reading the Fed letters yesterday, they were skipping that. And I found that to be pretty offensive, but I will read on. Who was found unresponsive in the snow outside a residence in Canton on the morning of January 29, 2022. This case is before the court of the Commonwealth motion for records pursuant to Mass R Criminal P17, directed by Gretchen Voss, and the keeper of records at Boston Magazine, seeking an order for production of all records, statements of Karen Read, including any video recordings, any interview notes, and statements made by adopted by Karen Read in connection with an article written by Voss. Voss in Boston Magazine opposed most, but not all, of the motion. After a hearing on January 18, 2024, in review of the written arguments submitted in the Commonwealth's motion, is allowed in part and denied in part. We're going to get the background now. On the evening of January 28, 2022, O'Keefe and the defendant met with a group of people, including Boston police officer Brian Albert and Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, at a bar in Canton. As the bar was closing, the group was invited to Albert's residence. O'Keefe and the defendant left the bar together in the defendant's vehicle and proceeded to the residence as heavy snow was falling. The defense maintains that the defendant dropped off O'Keefe at the residence and left under the impression that he went inside. Others presented at times, however, have reported that O'Keefe never entered the residence. O'Keefe did not return home. Early in the morning, a distraught defendant called McCabe and a friend of O'Keefe to meet her and look for him together. Shortly after 6 a.m., they arrived at the Alberts residence, where only the defendant saw O'Keefe lying in the front yard in the snow unresponsive. O'Keefe was transferred to the hospital and pronounced dead. The defendant was charged with O'Keefe's murder. The Commonwealth case is largely premised on the theory that she struck O'Keefe with her vehicle outside the Alberts residence and left him there. The defendant is pursuing a third-party culprit defense, arguing that the Alberts and McCabe, or possibly others that were in the Alberts residence that night, are responsible for O'Keefe's death, and that they, along with law enforcement, are engaged in a cover-up. On September 27, 2023, Boston Magazine published an article titled "The Karen Read Case in Canton: The Killing That Tore Apart a Town Apart," written by Voss. The article details, among other things, the events leading up to the charges against the defendant and those leading to the defendant's suspicions regarding the alleged cover-up, as well as the defendant's thoughts and opinions about the investigation. Voss interviewed dozens of people for the story, including the defendant, and she interviewed the defendant 3 times. For 2 of the interviews, which were conducted on June 30th, 2023 and July 13, 2023, on-the-record interviews, the defendant's attorney were present, and the interviews were audio recorded with the consent of the defendants and her attorneys. These interviews were considered on the record, except for certain off-the-record interjections by counsel. Voss also interviewed the defendant on July 7th, 2023, off-the-record interview, as the defendant was home without her counsel present, in the efforts for Voss to set an atmosphere for her story. See Voss's, I feel at part 8. Let's see. This interview was not recorded, but Voss took handwritten notes at the meeting. She promised the defendant to keep the interview off the record and did not use any of the defendant's statements from the interview in the article. Discussion. As an initial matter, the court notes that the Boston Magazine and Voss have agreed to produce the audio tapes from the on-the-record interviews, providing that they may redact information which the defendant and her attorneys requested would be kept off the record. The Commonwealth stated at the hearing on the motion that it does not oppose redactions of the statement by the defendant's attorney. However, it opposes any redaction of the defendant's statements. Thus, the focus of the motion is any off-the-record statements made by the defendant in the audio recordings from the on-the-record interviews and Voss's handwritten statements made by the defendant during the off-the-record interview. To obtain such records, the Commonwealth must first show that their request meets the requirements of Mass R Criminal P 17. Under Mass R Criminal P 17 A2, the court may issue a summons ordering a third party to produce books, papers, documents, and other objects prior to trial. The purpose of the rule is to expedite the trial by providing a time and place before the trial for the inspection of the subpoena material. And then you have a case that it's cited here. I'm not going to read through all this, but the party seeking the summons in this case, the Commonwealth must establish good cause by showing. Hang on one second. Welcome in, everybody. We're reading a new document here. Auntie Bev's decision. So it goes on citing things from the case. The documents are evidentiary and relevant. 2, they are not otherwise procurable reasonably in advance of the trial by exercise of due diligence. 3, that the party cannot properly prepare for trial with such production and inspection in advance for the trial, and that the failure to obtain such inspection may tend to unreasonably to delay the trial. And 4, the application made in good faith is not intended as a general fishing expedition. The Commonwealth has shown that the material sought meets the requirements of Rule 17-A2. Statement by a defendant regarding crimes for which she is charged are evidentiary and relevant to her criminal prosecution. The defendant voluntarily made statements to Voss regarding the events that led to O'Keefe's death, and such statements are admissible pursuant to Mass Guide to Evidence. Geez, man, it's all these crazy terminologies. 801 D2A. The material sought is not only in the possession of Boston Magazine and Voss, it cannot be procured by the Commonwealth without compelled disclosure, and the production is necessary in advance of trial. Additionally, given the contents of the published material and the limited nature of the Commonwealth's request, it is only seeks the defendant's own statements. The application is made in good faith and is not intended as a fishing expedition. Accordingly, to the Commonwealth has satisfied the Rule 17 standard. Because this case concerns and compelled disclosure of confidential information provided to a journalist, the court must also balance the public interest in every person's evidence and the public interest in protecting free flow of information. Let's see. The party seeking to avoid disclosure must make some showing of asserted damage to free flow. The information is more than speculative or theoretical. Oof, that was a tongue twister. As noted, Voss has submitted an affidavit in which she avers to the disclosure of the material sought within require of the divulged information that will hinder her ability as a journalist to assure sources that she kept certain information confidential. Her affidavit also details the harassment as she endured since the publication of her article and her fear that her compelled to turn over requested material in particular the handwritten notes of off-the-record interviews, she would be exposing herself to further harassment, endangering her safety and herself and her family. Given the extraordinary public attention and scrutiny to this case, her fears for her own safety and that of her family are no doubt warranted. In the light of concerns set forth in the affidavit, the court concludes that the asserted damage is to free flow of information is more than speculative or theoretical. The Commonwealth has also articulated a strong interest in obtaining the information sought to the defendant's criminal prosecution. Although it is close question at the time, the court does not view the Commonwealth's interest in outweighing the concerns articulated by Voss. However, if after reviewing the redacted on-the-record interviews, the Commonwealth believes that it is entitled to further information, it is not precluded from reasserting its motion to the court. Okay, order, here we go. For the foregoing reasons, the Commonwealth motion for records is allowed as to the portions of the audio recordings of the June 30th, 2023 and July 13, 2023 interviews that were on the record. The motion is denied without prejudice as the portions of the June 30th, 2023 and July 13, 2023 interviews that were off the record as to Gretchen Voss's handwritten notes of July 7, 2023. So essentially what's going to happen is that all the off the record stuff will be denied, will not be on the record. And that was dated, January 23rd, 2024, Auntie Bev. So Ruby says, I think it's a fair decision. I think they actually want Gretchen's notes to see if Karen mentions the FBI. And then Auntie Bev all of a sudden got some act right, to be fair, huh? Yeah, it is kind of interesting. You know, now that we know what happened yesterday, you had the letters of the FBI come out. You've seen some pressure now from the top. And it is very interesting. Hang on one second. I just got to answer a quick text. Let's see. Okay. Later on, maybe a little later in the show, we're going to have a guest host come on. So we're going to wait here for the Canton Select Board meeting to start. I'll leave this on the screen. So this is the decision that Auntie Bev has made today. I'll leave it up on the screen for anybody that's coming in. And this is to relevance to the Boston Magazine, the notes, if they were going to let them in or not. Anything off the record will not be allowed in. Anything that is on the record will be allowed in. So if anybody wants to screenshot that, go for it. They can post it on their Twitter. I'm fine by that. Yeah, I mean, that sounds it, right? Backpedaling. Yep. No decision yet that I know of. So we'll wait for everybody to come in. Welcome in, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. We're just going to wait for the select board meeting to start here in about 6 minutes. And hopefully have another really good show. Last time we had about 1,000 people watching. It was a good time. And I'm later on in the show, we're going to have a guest appearance. So it'll be very be fun. So we will wait. I still love this.
We have the 8 letters. We've seen them. We've read them. We are using them. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle.
The genie will not be put back in the bottle. It's so good. So good. Yes. Oh, George, I love your super chats. But you he's always got to get his advertisements in there. Thanks for the $20, by the way, buddy. Oh, let your subs see the whole truth tonight. Whew, I don't know. I don't think they're ready for it, George. I don't know if they're ready for the Michelle says, Brian, thank you for all that you do. I want you to know what kind of luxury sales lately I've been purchasing, mostly hoodies and t-shirts. I'm just in luxury sales. Hopefully for not too much longer. We'll see how it goes. All right, we're going to wait here. Let's pull up the Canton. I think this is what it will just roll right into it if I remember. So we'll hang out here a little bit. I think I'm going to take actually tomorrow off. I have so much stuff to do. I have a list to do of things to do tomorrow. I got to wash my car. Let's see. I got to go get my blood work tomorrow. That's fun. I got to do a couple other things to my car tomorrow. That's fun. I got to get my suit out of the closet for Thursday because we're going to go to court and support Aiden on Thursday. So I'll be out there in my suit for the guy that for the person. Oh, you always whipping his score. I told you, dude, I wasn't prepared to go in. Went to use the restroom, stopped by, looked through the window. Court officer was like, you want to come sit down? I was like, sure, I'll go sit down. Sat in court respectfully and watched some of the testimony. I was there. Let's see. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. I'm losing it tonight. I'm forgetting everything that I'm supposed to say or things that I was going to say. I'm so overworked. That's what it is. I need a break. But then when I get a break, I get like antsy. I'm like, I got to do something. I got to do something. I got to do something. If I don't do anything, I might miss something. If I don't do anything, I'm not going to be here with the audience. The audience wants to see something. It's crazy. Can't take days off. No days off. Carrie's always like, yeah, see, Carrie's like, you need a day off. I'm like, I can't, Carrie. I can't take a day off. You know, you don't, I don't know. You just don't become successful if you take days off. No one takes days off. I just don't do it. Look at George coming through. I got it, George. I understand. I can't roll the video, bro. We're going to watch the Canton Select Board meeting, but thank you for the $10. I got to keep going. I do need a mani-pedi. I've never actually had a mani-pedi. I don't even know what that would be. What's the experience of that? Do guys get mani-pedis? Do guys do that? Oh, by the way, I just want to throw this out there. Listen, this is an adult show. I do swear from time to time. Like people like, I would love to listen to this, but you swear. Listen, we're all adults that watch this channel. I swear, it's adult content. It's an adult channel. If I have a guest on, that's a lady, I try to be a little bit better and more PG because I want to not swear in front of them. But if the guys and the boys are hanging on the panel, then we're guys. So we're just waiting here for the meeting to start. I appreciate everybody coming in. Again, we're going to probably have a guest on in a little while, which will be fun. And this should be starting here in a minute, right? Does it just roll over? Someone just says it rolls over when it starts. Do guys get mani-pedis? Do they get mani-pedis? I've never done that before. I just cut my own nails. My nails are good. Yeah, I know. We've been going a long time. I got to get on a streaming schedule. Are they amazing? I've never had one. Laura, yeah, we were having a conversation the other day. So I hope I don't screw this up because last time I started to play it, I screwed it up and I came into it late, but I think it just rolls into the next one, right? Should be starting now.
ideas or content that they would want represented in the.
Am I screwing this up? Let's see. Let's go to the horse's mouth. It's this link right here, right? The one below, or is it the one up above? Is it above or below? This one? Let's see. Oh, I got it. All right, let me pull it up. Hasn't started yet. I'm missing out. I guess I need a mani-pedi. Thank you, everybody, for the coffees that came through. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the coffees. Ah, boy, it was a long day at work. Welcome in, everybody. Smash that like button. Let's get this up to 1,000 likes tonight. I would appreciate it. Nikki, thank you so much. 7-month membership. Doing great things, Brian. No, you're doing great things. You're all doing great things, because the great things that you're doing is that you are supporting the Free Karen Read movement. You are supporting Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney. You are supporting the Canton 9. You are supporting free speech. You are supporting to get corrupt people out of your communities. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing here. We will peel back the onion layers and we will keep exposing this. The movement will move on. They thought by throwing Aiden in jail, falsely putting him in jail, that this was going to slow down. It's not going to slow down. It will continue. We will stand higher and taller. We will continue to carry the torch of the Free Karen Read movement. We will be there in droves, peacefully protesting, peacefully supporting. All right, here we go.
This is going to be recorded.
Oh, guess who's there tonight?
This will be recorded on and viewed on
Who's
cable
there?
8. Yeah, so again,
Thank you, Don.
you can watch it anytime. So
Oh, we gotta hold on. Oh, I'd repeat that when it comes on. We all set? Not on the monitor.
On that one.
It's on that one. Okay, good.
we're all set. So we're all set. then.
Thanks.
Yep, we're all
Okay.
set.
Mr. Chair, would you just make that recording announcement one more time? now that-
That this meeting is recorded and that can be viewed on the cable 8 channel. Thank you.
Laura, welcome to the moderator group.
Any announcements, Mr. Conley?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on. First thing on the agenda, Mr. Lockman.
The first thing we have, Mr. Chair, there is a proposal by the town planner and the Neponset River Regional Chamber for the reuse of $40,000 in ARPA funds that was previously allocated for Restaurant Week. So do I have,
Sora?
come right
Come
up?
on up. Yeah, have a seat at the table.
I'm going to let everybody know the volume is all the way up. I had no control of it.
How are you? Good to see you.
It's just the way it is. So you're going to have to turn your volume up in your headphones or whatever it is.
I was looking for TJ. I didn't know you were going solo.
No, yeah, TJ couldn't make it, unfortunately, but I did present a proposal. I assume you have.
Well, we're hanging out here, Bob.
At his request.
Thanks for advertising that.
They've got the $30,000 allocation that would have been allocated to Restaurant Week. We're not doing Restaurant Week this year. We did it for 3 years during COVID to help out the restaurants during a tough time. We are instead bringing back our Taste of the Region event in the spring, which you're all invited to. It'll be at Blue Hill Country Club on April 10th, and there'll be more information about that, but that's separate from this. So in lieu of using the funds for Restaurant Week, the proposal is to use them to provide direct technical assistance to local businesses in Canton. We did a similar program over the last 2 years with state funding that the chamber received, and we were able to assist, I think, 15 or 16 local businesses with direct technical assistance. A lot of them have an online presence, but it's not optimized as best it can be. And so what we were able to do with a lot of these businesses was provide hands-on training on social media marketing, that sort of thing. And we were able to actually redo their websites and give them the ability to take online payments and set up an online store and do different things like that, that for the businesses that were impacted during COVID, it allowed them to sort of pivot and move online in a much better way. And so the proposal is to do that with local Canton businesses going forward.
Any questions or comments?
How do you get in touch with the local businesses that this is available from? Would
Yeah,
you
so-
send out something to everybody?
Yeah, we'll work with the town and with TJ to get the word out through our channels, through town channels, whatever it might be. But we would put out basically an RFP to local businesses that can apply. And then depending, on the amount of funding we have, we'll be able to pick. We're guessing probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 businesses, depending on how heavy their needs are, that we'll be able to work with.
So what would be the criteria to receive this?
The volume is
They would
all the
have to-
way
well,
up.
Number one, obviously, they have to be in Canton.
The volume is all the way up.
No chains. We're looking for the mom and pop type of businesses.
The volume is all the way up. It's
Smaller
at
businesses,
100%.
That don't necessarily have the resources and the staff to devote to this kind of thing. We would take a look at what they currently have. And if someone looks like they're in pretty good shape and doesn't need it as much as somebody who's really struggling and could use the help, we'll try to find the ones who need the help the most.
Yes. You guys go to the microphone. Yeah, if you just state your name. and address.
Mindy Milner, I live on Waffle Street in Canton. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Economic Development Committee. TJ had presented this to the committee, and the committee had voted in favor of using these ARPA funds this way, and the committee was in favor of this. We think it's a great idea to use it for the small businesses, and we're so thankful that the chamber decided to take it over for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad to be able to do it. It was really effective with what we did the last 2 years. We're really pleased with the results, so hopefully we can do the same for you.
All right, so just any other questions or comments? So do we need a vote on this? Mr. Walker? No.
I make a motion that we reuse the $40,000 in ARPA funds that were previously allocated for Restaurant Week, and we redirect those to the Neponset River Regional Chamber, the town planner for this project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you, sir, very much.
Good luck.
Great.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with that.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we can report back.
Yeah. Perfect, great. Oh, that'd be great. Thanks. Thank you so much. Next.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have the Energy Aggregation Plan update on the Mass DPU's conditional order, and we have Mr. Birmingham joining us this evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Can you open up your
Birmingham.
slide deck? Should be right on the, do you have a slide? Sure. Yeah, The electronic version?
Yeah.
Should be right on the desktop.
One of the top ones.
There you go.
Well played.
Excellent. Good evening.
Good evening.
Tom Birmingham, Chair of the Canton Energy Advisory Committee. This evening, I'm going to be presenting to you an update on the status of the program. For sake of time, I'm going to probably push through the specific pages a little bit to save some time, but if you have any questions as I go through these, please let me know. I'll try to very briefly give you an overview of the background, the Mass Department of Public Utilities order, and then the compliance filing and next steps. So just quickly to provide you all with a status update on the program, present recommendations from the committee that we voted on last night to seek the select board approval of these recommendations. So there is an ask of you all this evening to approve 3 recommendations that I'll brief you on in a moment. I haven't been in front of you in several months, so I just have this slide as some background. Won't go through all the details. The most important item is the bottom, which is the way this works. The Department of Public Utilities gave us 30 days to submit a compliance filing. They approved our filing, which is good news. So I'm pleased to announce that, but we do have to submit a compliance filing technically by the end of this week. So that gives us a pretty short window to make some decisions. I will say up front that we can get an extension of that deadline if we so need it.
Oh, you can use that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So next slide. This slide summarizes what the order directed us to do. There were about 20 plus amendments in the order. And as a result of those amendments, they're generally speaking, I would qualify them as non-material. They're essentially to help bring our program proposal up to speed with the current department standards, which continue to evolve since we last submitted our proposal back in March of 2023. So just to brief you, the three recommendations are the decision points for you all tonight. The first one is to authorize the town administrator to be the decision maker regarding the voluntary percentage, that's the amount of renewable energy we offer in our program, and the type of renewable energy credits to include. And then the second part of recommendation one is to also have the town administrator be the signatory of the electric supply contract. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Recommendation number two is to accept all the other amendments to the program that have been responded to by our outside consultant. As you may recall, Mass Power Choice is our consultant, and they have gone through the order as of I and looked at all of the different required changes, made those changes to the existing documents that we submitted before, and they all look fine. From what the consultant did and from what I reviewed and the committee reviewed last night, we're comfortable with the changes. And then finally, to prepare for what's called program launch, this is where the rubber really hits the road. So good news is we're much further along than I had anticipated to give the town the option to participate in this program. So that's just an overview. I'll break down the details in a second. This slide I won't spend a lot of time on, but it does summarize all the various 20 or so different changes that the department asked us to do. Most of them are really just language. As I said, they're non-material, non-substantive for the most part. Okay, so unless you had any questions on this slide, I'm going to move along. And back to recommendation number one. This is, I've just read that top paragraph previously, so I won't restate that, but essentially what this is based on is policy direction that the select board would provide to the town administrator and input from the committee and or program staff, which we don't have any at this time, but the department allows for that, to advise the town administrator on what the decision point would be. Should we go, no go, how much renewable energy, what's the pricing, and those are the basic decision points. The second is to a review of the criteria for the decision-making process. The department asked us to clarify what that decision criteria is, and it includes costs, environmental impact, renewable energy requirements, etc. So the issue that is before us is this is a very time-sensitive decision, in part because the energy markets change daily. And so the way this program is set up, we get what's called indicative bids, and then a couple days later we get the actual bid if we want to move forward on this. And it's that day that we get the actual bids that we have to make a decision. So by asking for your permission to delegate authority to the town administrator, that allows us to make a quick decision day of, instead of having to convene a special select board meeting or to try to tie this into select board meetings. As I said, we've got to make a decision within a few hours based on how this whole program works. So that's the basic decision I'm asking you to consider tonight, to allow for that to happen. I wasn't sure when we drafted, and I talked to the town administrator today, whether or not this requires motions from the select board to authorize town administrator to do this or not. And I don't know, Charlie, if you wanted to add any light on whether or not that's necessary and appropriate.
I think it is. I think it's necessary to make those motions in order to delegate that authority to me from the board.
Okay. So that's recommendation number one. I'll take a pause and ask if that makes sense to you all. Any questions about that?
Any questions from the board? Is there any way we can, if we do approve this to give you the authorization, is there any way we can put perimeters on it?
The program itself has the parameters written in there to protect the public. Example would be these decision criteria. So I don't think there's a need to add anymore, in my opinion. What we've agreed to and the committee's ready to do is to inform you ahead of time. Before this day that we have to make decisions within a couple of hours, we'll have good information and we can share that with you. We've looked at the select board meeting schedule and there's an opportunity to come back and present to you what these indicative prices are. So you know, essentially what it is, very simply put, is we're comparing what our choices are for Canton compared to the baseline rate from Eversource. And that's what the comparison is. How good a deal are we getting from the suppliers relative to Eversource's base rate? And if it looks good and we feel good about it, then it makes sense to go forward. If it doesn't if it's not good at that time, we can wait. We don't have to make a decision right away. So there's an out clause, if you will, that we don't have to make this decision. It's up to the town. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr.
when I
McCoy.
get more- A couple of things. On the 14 or 20 plus amendments,
Mhm.
It says 14 on the plan itself. One's about decision-making to percentages. Who would be that decision maker at that time? Is it your board that would be doing that decision making? And that's based on what you just talked about, the criteria, what's on the market now? And how long, do these get locked in? For instance, you choose a rate. What is the lock-in period?
I'll take your first question first. And just to be clear, the decision-making around these amendments, I think was your question.
Well, one's about a decision-making factor about percentages. So somebody's,
Yes.
they changed, I don't know what the change was from the original, and there's 14 or so changes. So that's a little concerning because we don't know what actually changed from what was there. But that's all right. I mean, I'm just looking at rate lock type of thing and who's making that percentage, those decisions.
Yep. It's a great question that's the second question on the percentages, I think, right? So we have asked for flexibility from the department to give us the option to decide what percentage of renewable power is in each tier. There's 3 tiers. So we have the flexibility to decide that what's based on what criteria is what I said kind of earlier in this review of criteria: cost, how much is the option 1 versus option 2, what's the environmental impact of option 1 versus 2, and how much renewable energy is in option 1 versus 2. So those are the things that you're looking for. To decide, our committee would make a recommendation. You can go up to 100% renewable energy. Generally speaking, historically, that's been more expensive. Not necessarily more expensive than the baseline. That's your bogey. You're trying to beat that. But we want to offer as much renewable power as we think the town would have an appetite for, but also make it reasonable to have choices. If they don't want the most expensive option, they can go with the least cost option. So,
well, just looking at, so the committee actually determines those percentages, your committee.
yeah, based on this information.
Based on that criteria.
And then we'd make the recommendation.
Very good. Now, on the, for instance, though, I'm in a program that has renewables, right, in the current program. Now, when this goes into operation, do the town contact those suppliers that are already in, and then we have a chance, we can either say yay or nay on our opt-out. We can keep our same plan, or we can opt to go, the town automatically will just do it for us. So there's nothing for us to do with the current suppliers.
If you're already taking advantage of that supply choice,
Yeah.
you will get a notification that the opportunity is there to opt into this new program, but you can stay where you are,
Right.
if that was a question.
But if I decided to go with the town's plan?
Yes.
That's done automatically through the town program, or do I have to opt out of the?
Every single customer has to, there's an automatic opt-in. So if you're, there's some exceptions if you're already using a supplier. If you're using a supplier, then you're going to get a different notice that says you need to tell us if you want to change or not.
Okay.
So that's kind of because we're not sure how many people are like you that has taken advantage of this. Most people have not. So the general expectation is most people are going to be automatically opted in, but for these other certain circumstances like yourself.
Thank you.
So if I can keep going
Yes,
a little bit, we're almost there. So let me just go through my notes here.
Yeah, if you just say your name and address, please, absolutely.
My name is Greg. So, Mr. Berman mentioned you get to set the percentage. When we set that percentage, can you answer? When we set that percentage, will there be an opportunity to change in the future, like maybe every year? We start at 25% next year, we go to 35, or depending on the frequency of renewal, is there a chance to change that percentage and increase the renewable energy as the plan develops? So that's my first question.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, I didn't answer one of your questions. Part of your question was, how long do these terms last?
Yeah.
So the terms can last from generally 12 months to 36 months. The way the rates are set at the utility, it's basically every 6 months. So we're going to look at the pricing options in 6-month increment and try to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of the total term. Is it 6 months? Is it 12, et cetera? So that's going to be part of the recommendation as well. Then it's going to include within that window what percentage of renewable in these 3 tiers. The original expectation for the committee is that it may not be at 100% to start. Let's get people used to doing this because it's going to be the more expensive option historically. So we might recommend, let's do 50% on the highest tier and 25%, but it really depends on the pricing. Depending on how that pricing comes out, it's going to affect what percentage of renewables we put in before us to decide for the town.
Okay, so I think I heard that the lock-in period dictates when we can change the percentage of renewable.
Yeah, so back to your question, that's correct. Once that period of time, the term ends, then you go back to the marketplace and reassess.
Sorry, finish your thought, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So the other point that was mentioned, the town administrator will have the opportunity to look at the proposal, decide whether or not to lock in, based on the good opportunity now, the prices look good, if he decides not to lock in, does he have repeated opportunity to say, okay, this is the time we want to lock in? Or is he locked out for a period of time if he decides not to lock in at a particular, date?
Sorry, I was distracted for a second. Is this for an individual customer you're asking?
No, I was thinking for the town administrator. Deciding, because I think you mentioned, I'm sorry, I think he mentioned.
The funny thing is, my microphone is on the lowest setting.
And he can pick the best one, or he could opt not to exercise any of them at that time. My understanding would be then next week, next month, or whatever, because you said he said the market rates change daily, so it might not look good today, but it might look a lot better next week if he waits another week. It might look better next month if he decides to wait another month. So I just personal experience have done this on an individual basis. I know there's certain times of year where it's better to lock in versus not. And as Mr. Birmingham mentioned, the terms look more attractive depending on when you lock in. They vary. So my question is basically, what options does this opportunity grant the town administrator to decide when to lock in, I guess is the real question.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. There are 3 essentially windows that are before us tonight that we can decide to lock in. That's driven in large part by the pricing and structure of the rates that go beyond this discussion. So keeping it simple, we have three windows. One would be for customers using to basically begin using this program in May. That's window number one. Window number two is in June, and window number three is in October. Those are our three choices today as far as the timing goes, based on if we were able to get a decision tonight. There's a lot of sequencing that goes on that if we delay tonight, which is your prerogative, but not our recommendation, you can delay your decision tonight. That may preclude the first window, it may close on us. So the three windows are open today. If we wait a couple more weeks to make that decision, that first window gets smaller and smaller and maybe even close on us based on all these timing issues. So then we're left with the two windows, one in June and one in October.
So if I understood that right, if we make the decision to move forward, the May window is open, but the opportunity is still there to say, let's wait until June.
Tim, guess what?
Numbers in front of us. Or-
Someone didn't claim their Fire HD,
Thank you.
so I'll have another giveaway pretty soon for a Fire HD.
Any other questions? Oh. Continue, Mr. Burnham, if you like. Continue.
So just try to summarize, there's three decisions. We've really talked about the first one so far. Quickly, I've got it up on the screen now. Slide 8 is recommendation number 2. This is to accept all the other language, essentially, that's been proposed. It's really directed by us. We don't have much of a choice. There's some fine tuning of the wording, but for the most part, the language that's been drafted to address the amendments by mass power choice is what it needs to be. So this recommendation is just to basically give us permission to file our compliance filing as drafted or redrafted by our consultant. That's recommendation 2. And then finally, we just started talking about the timing of these windows, these 3 windows. Recommendation number 3 is to give us permission to begin to negotiate, not negotiate, that's bad word, give us permission as a committee to start working with the consultant to start getting these pricing and allow us to go ahead, move forward with getting ready to go live with this program. So those are the 3 recommendations, and hopefully that makes sense to you all. Any questions?
Could you just go over the operational ladder?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, back to that one. Okay, recommendation number 2, the particular language around the operational ladder, I'm back on slide 8, is, as you may recall, there is an option in this program to add a very small cost, it's 0.001 cents per kilowatt hour, to fund a position or the purchase of renewable energy credits on behalf of the town. What the department has begun to narrow the other choices that you could use the money for. As we've drafted the proposal, we have not committed to this adder. We wanted to wait to see what the overall pricing was and what impact that might have on customers. But if you didn't ask for it, you can't get it later. So the department's narrowing it to just program-related expenses and benefit. And then we can still decide once we get all the dollar figures through this bid process, what impact that would have on our cost to our residents.
So it's a possible future position that might be needed to implement the program.
That's our recommendation is, based on how much time it's taken me as a volunteer to do all this stuff, there's a lot of work there, to make sure this runs well for the town. But it's going to depend on the pricing. And I think it's someday we'll come up with a job description and what that would mean. And so the payment for this position would come out of this rate, not the town.
Thank you.
Just a couple questions to Mr. Birmingham. Thanks, Tom. And I got some calls from some folks, and I just want to clarify publicly at this meeting. This is for, and I say residential and businesses.
Yes.
And right now we have Eversource.
That's correct.
Yes, and we don't, Eversource has our gas and our electric. This is only for electric.
Correct.
I just want to make sure because some people ask me, is it for both, what's it for? Second of all, and from you and Mr. Murphy, that if we're locked in, it could be up to for 12 months or 36 months. You can't get out, can you?
There is an opportunity for customers on an individual basis to get out.
As like if they get a bill, their first or second bill, they want out, they can get out?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good news because a lot of people are concerned. A lot of people are afraid of what the future, the Eversource is Eversource, Boston Edison and Eversource and whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks have, some folks have asked me, they can stay with Eversource if they want to, correct?
Yes.
And they're not automatically enlisted or enrolled into any program that the town is offering. They have to say yes, or, and I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. They don't have to say, I don't want to be in, or they do.
They do.
That's
So
what I thought you just said.
that's what I wanted to clarify. That's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
So they have to say, I don't want to go into what the town is offering. I want to stay with the people I have.
And that's a big part of the notification process.
Okay, I just want to.
The department's very conscious of that. And so it's called an opt-out notice. So if you want to opt out, you have to positively opt out, but there's a lot of explanation. A big part of the sort of discovery process and the program itself is about that issue.
Okay.
Department is very much against and very sensitive to what's called slamming, just pushing customers in without their permission. So and this is a big part of what we need to do on the implementation side, is make sure this education and communications process is very clear to the public. And we've got a lot of channels decided already on how we're going to do that.
Because I've got, through Mr. Chairman again, I've got 4 or 5 offers from all kinds of people, from Washington, from Timbuktu, and from everywhere saying, save money, save money, save money.
Right.
So I'm just concerned that folks, old folks like myself, they might say, I didn't know what I was signing up for.
Yeah.
And that concerns me.
Yeah.
That's the people we
Me
have to
too.
be watchful for.
For sure.
Or if you overlook it too, correct? Like I say, if you overlook
Yes,
this
good
notice
point.
and
Good point.
you're thrown into this option.
And you'll get changed, and you won't get a bill from Eversource anymore, would you?
They're going to be the biller.
Okay, they are.
Still single bill.
Okay.
But it's going to call out this element to it. And I should add that there's no penalty to remove yourself as well.
And just to follow up one more, and I know what the answer is, but I don't want to say it ask you publicly. If I get a wire down on my house, I can still call Eversource, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's, I want to make sure.
Eversource, primary provider of
People say,
electricity.
Who do I call if a tree brings a wire down to my house, I have no electricity? I know to connect to your house, you have to hire your own electrician. So that's why it's always been with, but they bring it to the electrician hooks it up. That the customer pays for.
On the meter side.
Yes, to the house.
Yeah.
Correct, yes. I just want to make sure, because some people are concerned, who do I call?
Yeah, no, Eversource,
Okay.
still here, number 1.
That's what I want to make sure. Thank you.
I've had questions from some of the elderly, the seniors, that they're protected by Eversource if they can't pay their bill, that they would not have their electricity cut off. Would that be the same situation with this new program?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, one last question.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk,
Tom,
please.
historically, have you looked at the rates in seasons like May, June, and October? Wouldn't be maybe the best season to be looking at rates? Or is there a time frame in the year that rates have been historically different?
Very good question. I've been talking to our outside counsel about that. This is the best time historically before the summer rates kick in. It turns out, I'll just leave it at that. The department's looking at that issue. But right now, May and June are the best windows for us to try to lock into a price historically.
May and June, you would say?
Yeah, these 2 windows, the front windows, so that there's some urgency to try to make this decision, to give us those 2 windows in May and June. If you're not comfortable with that, I understand that, then it may just limit us to the window in June, but that's still better than typical fall rates.
And I have one more question. Are you done, Mr. McCord? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm also, thank you.
To you, Mr. Chairman, one more. About how many other cities and towns have gone down this path? I know you said it before. I just want to, I want to say a lot of things on TV so people can watch it and understand a little better.
Last count, I think there's 120 communities, towns and cities across Massachusetts. And the program's been around since 1997. So it's ramped up quite a bit in the last 5 years or so. But there's a lot of experience with this around the state.
Any questions or comments? So
And if it helps, I may add, there's some studies that have shown millions of dollars of savings. We can't guarantee those savings. That's the very, important language the department wants us to avoid as we're advertising this program. But it's like bulk buying power for the town. It tends to give you better pricing. Not always, and we can't guarantee it, but that's one of the benefits, for sure.
So let me ask you, so Eversource wouldn't do the same thing because where they have the whole town? Or would they? Would they be giving us their best money, their best rate because they have the whole town?
They've got more than just the town, right? The department approved what it's called disaggregation. There's supplier choice now. Really what Eversource is focused on is the distribution and the transmission, not the supply. So that's what's brought in all these suppliers. That's why you get in the mail from all these suppliers, like sign up with me. Eversource has kind of gotten themselves out of that business because the department has directed them to.
Mr. Chair, one last question. Stop that. Now, if we opt into this, like, for instance, this evening, and you go for the May, right? When would notifications go out to the residents?
Sure. The schedule.
Because it's already on the schedule.
If we went for May, I'll just read it quickly. The indicative bids, this is kind of the estimate of what you might get in the marketplace, is February 7th. Then the final bid and the supply contracts signed February 14th. The notices go out March 13th. The opt-out deadline, which was the question, can you remove yourself? That's April 18th. And then service would begin May 9th. So it's about a 3.5 month window from, when we make that decision to when the customers actually see the change. And that's all very prescribed, reasons why. You need 90 days for the notice and all that stuff.
And one last question, does your committee implement all this notice and everything? Or
Thank goodness, no.
No, I was gonna say.
No.
So who implements the whole project
Sure.
as it goes forward?
That's Mass Power Choice is the name of the vendor, and they are the company that's helping us advise us along the whole way. They're our interface with the Department of Public Utilities. They're the one that are doing the changes, the amendments to the program itself. They've got the call center. They've got the mailing capability. It's their responsibility to basically implement this project.
Thank you.
Hi. Alan Hines, 46 Andrew Street. One question for you. Are the consumers going to get, you said the consumers can opt out with an active opt out. Are the consumers going to get information to be able to do rate comparisons, things like that? Because I think and are they going to get the options of how much renewable, like which rating tier they want as well? So they will get 3 rating tiers in this new plan, and then a comparison of what their Eversource rate is or historically has been. Is that what they're going to get when they have this quick window that they're going to have to make a decision?
May I? The short answer, yes, Alan. The window for the customer to make the decisions is much longer than we have to lock into the rate, and that's just kind of market based. So if I got my dates right, the customers will have 2 months to make the decision, and that will be based a part of a whole education campaign that they'll have the comparison that you just described, different options. We'll have the website. There's a 800 number that they can call. They have questions. So it's really, and as I was saying to Mr. Connolly, this is well rehearsed. The company that we hired to do this, it's probably their 50th town that they've done this with. So
They've been down the road.
yeah, for sure. It's well on tap.
Does the customer just get one notice at the beginning of that period where they can decide? Or if they don't answer, do they get another notice before the deadline?
I'd have to double check that. I believe the answer is just one written notice in the mail. But then we're gonna have.
That
a
stanchion
number
is
of
new,
things
isn't
on
it?
the Website.
In front of the mic stand? They didn't have that before,
meetings,
did they?
different
They have the stanchions
community
there?
Outreach organizations, different committees that we'll be going to. So we have a whole education and communication plan to make sure that people are well aware of that, and that is available on the town website if you look at the Canton Electricity Choice Program.
Was it there?
One
It's
written
been there?
notice,
Yeah.
lots of other stuff.
Oh, okay. No, new on both sides.
I just want to speak in favor of this because.
Oh, they
one,
did? Okay.
What I've been hearing about this and having several years' experience doing this on an individual basis.
Jen the
Eversource
Bull.
changes their rates twice a year, and I think it's January and July. And if the individual in the town under this plan has the opportunity to opt in or out with a month or two's notice, it's a far better deal that they could get on their own, because many of those plans that you get the best rates on have penalties.
Rich, I love that
financial penalties if you
avatar.
opt out early, or if you don't, now you're stuck in that rate. And now you might have been a great rate for the
Tim, you've been
summer,
killing it with the
or
comments all
winter, and
night.
then the summer plan kicks in, and now Eversource's rate is lower than the plan that you opted into. So, given the average Canton citizen that flexibility, it seems like a great opportunity to take advantage of. Thank you.
Is it possible to have them opt in as opposed to having to opt out?
It's set up to automatically opt in, and that's kind of how the departments establish the program rules. I can't remember if it's legislative or regulatory requirement, but it's very, like, it would be weird to change it, probably we couldn't. Did I get your question?
Well, I think instead of like leaving it up to the mailings that the residents are going to be getting to opt out of this, that they would get notices to say, here's an opportunity for you, would you like to opt in?
The way the opt-out notice is written, it explains that if you do nothing, you're in. So everybody's going to get that mailing. So they'll understand, have an opportunity to read that they don't have to do anything and qualify. Is that helpful?
Tom?
Yeah, so,
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Good, Mr.
So
Albert.
if you don't get that letter, let's say you don't see that it says opting in automatically, what rate? Because there's 3 tiers, right? If you don't opt in, which one are you going to be stuck into?
It's called the default rate.
So what's the, that,
And that's what we'll figure out. How does that compare to the Eversource base rate?
what their bill would be?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't automatically, they wouldn't be stuck in the highest rate if they didn't open their mail that week?
That's right. Yeah, that's like the standard offer default rate would be the lowest, most comparable to the utility rate.
So, Mr. Chairman, so if you opt out, okay, come May or whenever that deadline is, and you opt out, and then your neighbor's been in it for a while, he's all happy, what is the time frame to opt back in, and how would you do that? You have to, imagine you have to implement that on yourself after the fact.
Yeah, you have to take your own initiative to come back in, but it's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah, I forget, I don't think there's a time restriction on that. It's just you'd have to initiate that yourself.
'Cause I could forecast that happening.
Yeah.
That you have 4 neighbors
Right.
that are in it, and then, just conversation, say, my electric bill is a lot better.
Right.
And so that person would say, well, gee, how do I opt in? And I imagine there would be some sort of, on the website or whatever, how to do that.
Absolutely.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if this is like the chicken before the egg, like the education piece happens after we vote to start the process to automatically opt in our residents. And then we're hopeful that the education piece, like I almost feel like we should have, and I know it's difficult to predict, what the numbers might be, but the average utility bill is this for a resident, and these are the different tiers that it could be, so that we can inform the citizens ahead of time that, hey, this is why we're voting on this, and then decide whether or not, based on the feedback we're getting. I'm afraid that if we vote on this and push us on this path, some of the other board members have expressed the concern that, being able to opt out might not be crystal clear, and we're kind of obligating people into the higher rate that they might not have intended. Just a thought.
Yeah,
And I know that Mass Power, I know that they do this, and
Yeah.
This is their process, and they're good at the education. And
Yeah, it's a pretty prescribed path, of how we try to educate the customers about this decision. We, yeah, we've done some work to let people know that this is coming, but it hasn't been full court press, up until this point. But now it's, the music's started and we're ready to dance. So I do think there's enough experience. The communication's been going to be finalized by the department. We've got a good vendor to do that. And the options are such that the customer is not going to get stuck doing something they don't want to do.
Okay.
That I'm very confident about that, because I'm concerned about it. The department's concerned about it. And the system is designed not to do that slamming thing.
Right. Okay. No, thank you.
Sure.
Back again, Greg Murphy, 19 Wild. Just to follow up to the question about opting out and then maybe opting back in. Is it safe to say that the time to turn around the opt back in would be similar to the individual? In other words, would it take a couple months to actually ramp up from the point where you say, I want back in, and then it's really like, maybe not the next bill, but the bill after that, where it actually kicks in? That's again how it works for individuals. I didn't know how quick the opt-in could be. That's the question.
I don't know, Greg. I'm not sure. It's probably at least 30 days. You got to go through a billing cycle for the utility itself. Probably no more than 60, but I'm not totally sure on that. I haven't had that question yet.
And I think that's a reasonable period, an expectation to set if that's the case. I'll reiterate that the rates that we're going to find coming from these suppliers will be a positive. Even if we go for 100% sustainable, it's going to be comparable, at least in my experience over the past few years. If we lower that number of sustainable energy or renewable energy, the rates can even be lower for people. So,
Mr. Chair, excuse me, if you would stay there, question to you, sir.
Sure.
You've had experience opting in and out multiple times. Have you done
Opting in
that
and out,
personally?
yeah. Most of
And
the
what has your experience been? 2 months or changeover?
So my experience to opting in, what happens is when you opt in, you get like a 6-month or an 8-month or a 12-month contract. Some people have gone for the 36-month contracts. They do offer those. Personally, I've never taken those because I wanted the flexibility. But each time, as I approached the end point of a contract, you have to basically, jump in a couple months before that current contract expires to figure out what you're going to commit to next. I'll say all but one time I committed to another renewable energy plan, very often the same company. I have switched companies as well. One time rates went crazy last year. The winter rates went way up, and the timing of my plan just didn't work out for me. That by the time I opted out, the plans that they offered were higher than just going back to Eversource. So for that 6 months.
That's Melanie Little, by the way. My microphone wasn't on. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Everybody's freaking out in the chat. They love you.
Oh, I'm not seeing the comments.
They love you.
Can you do me a favor? I'm going to private message you.
Yeah.
You're on telephone, you dial 0, press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're on the phone for 45 minutes to change your lock in. So most of your stuff you've done online.
My experience, I've done both. Mostly with the renewals, I've typically called because a lot of times the websites will show to sign up for the plan, and I'm already in the plan, so I have to call them and say, I'm looking to renew. What rates can you offer me? And at that point, they're very quick. And at least, again, the companies that I've dealt with, very quick to respond. They've given me advice. Say, okay, well, we don't have these rates. These are the rates we have now, but check back with me next Tuesday. We're going to get new rates, and we think it's going to go down or whatever it might be. So they've been very, very helpful for, for an individual,
So thank
opting
you,
in with them.
Tom. Would that be mostly online or both available also?
It's both. You can call and online. I will say this, that the Mass Power Choice, our primary vendor, has their own dedicated line. And it's one of the reasons why we picked them is their call answer, speed of answer is good, and they're well.
You know what I'm
well-
talking about, getting locked on the phone.
Oh, I do. Believe me. Yeah. There's some good commercials about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, like Greg just said, it seems like you have to really pay. It's almost like you're playing the stock market here. You have to really pay attention. It's for these. I mean, like he's on top of it. For what the average citizen is just.
So we're waiting for public
Like, he's going
comments. It
back
usually happens at the end of the stream, but
back
the
to what
chat
he
loves to
wanted
kind of
to
play
do, go
along.
with the energy.
So that's what we're waiting. And the comments are great. People are amazing in the comments. But once you see our people there, it's great. You'll get to see Rita and you'll get to see Jen.
No, I have two rates because
And they turn it up. It's pretty
regulated, so
good.
they can only change rates a couple times a year.
Everyone's welcoming me to Canton.
Of course.
Got to see what goes on here.
But if my average rate over a year, and again, everybody has different utility usage, but let's say I'm paying $500 now. You keep on talking about the base rate or whatever. What am I expecting the new 3 tiers to be? Are they going to be 500, 475, 450, or are they going to be like just go like what are the expectations? Like, do I have to go back and start graphing all of my utility bills for the last 3 years?
Melanie, you didn't miss much.
I was watching off camera, and then I was like, oh, come on at the end.
Like the average person, all they know is
Yeah.
they're going to make a
See,
decision
the end makes it
that's
worth it.
highly uneducated, and as soon as that first bill comes in, it's higher than expected, they're going to make one of 5 calls. So I just wanted to, I mean, that's why Selectman Mike, his point was great. It's like, can we get the information a little bit ahead of time so that like it's evident that we're making a good decision on this? It's just confusing to me. I'm not
Oh, good question. Did you get invited back?
Not yet. I was waiting for a call today, but maybe they're not covering it tonight. There's a lot going on right now.
The basic scenario that you painted, Alan, was what's my current bill and what's it going to be after I subscribe to this program, right? If your current bill is
Do you want me to ring
$500
the bell?
today, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be because the market pricing is going to be dependent. Hypothetically, it could be the same if you go with the supplier because
That's what we're waiting for. The billboards. Yes, the
basic service fee
billboards.
is gonna
Round
be the
one was
exact same
amazing last week.
as your current provider, but it has more renewable energy. You know, that's one of the big benefits is it's greener.
Exactly. Everyone hear about the
electricity.
billboards because
Same
there was a
price,
lot of
$500
fudging with
then,
the money,
$500
Melanie.
now.
The budget was not
Hypothetically,
adding
it
up.
could go up. That's tier 1. Tier 2 could be $525, but you're getting a higher percentage of green energy. So if you care about the environment and you want to make that investment in the environment, I'm willing to spend an extra $25 a month to help out the environment. I'll get that tier 2 for $525. Then tier 3 could be $550, and you're going to get even more renewable power. And I'm willing to make that investment because I'm really green and I really believe in this program. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
So the base is going to be, and then it goes up. We're not going to save money by going to this. We're going to be saving, we're going to be paying a higher amount to.
Oh, excuse me, Alan, you can just step up to the mic. I'm sorry. I may have that. I was lost in the conversation there, so I just.
I'm sorry. I appreciate that. So now I think I better understand. So we're going in there and the decision when we're going to pick is we're going to be picking a base amount that's equivalent to what we have and then provide options.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a lead here real quick and just pause this back. We'll leave it running. Once we see our team jump up there, we'll turn it up. But I want to welcome in Melanie Little. Thank you so much for hanging out on the panel, coming over. We're actually talking a little bit today, and she had her stream. I couldn't get on because I was at work, and I said to her, "Oh, look, I'm running something later. If you want to come hang out, we're going to watch the Canton Select Board meeting." And sometimes they get pretty good once our team gets up there and starts questioning budgets and money and where things are going, and just basically making the city of Canton hell during these meetings and also. But I just wanted to get your reaction about the letters. I know that you read through them on your stream today. What did you think?
I thought it was crazy. I don't know if you you probably didn't get a chance to watch the show because you were working. I wanted you to come on the show, and I wanted you to be like one of the be Marcy or one of the other guys reading the letters, and we could have done like a play. And I would have read, the girl parts, and you could have read the boy parts. But unfortunately, works for jerks. So when you got to do what you got to do, I guess, right?
Yes.
It was interesting because I read the letters, and then I played some of the timeline too. So I played like Marcy's statement.
We did that last
That
night.
he did in August after, the letter in August. Oh, did you do that? I didn't watch your coverage because I wanted to be original and fresh. Oh, well, sorry.
Okay.
And then I did the motions hearing after, when they went in September, when they said, you haven't given us 56 pieces of material evidence. After all those letters had been going back and forth, how they were talking about how, oh, we know, you need to understand, like they're schooling the U.S. attorney, like you need to understand that we have these discovery obligations and we got to get everything to them right away.
Right.
And meanwhile, on the other channel, they're like, delaying as much as they can, giving all the evidence, dragging their feet. So it was hypocritical. It was a lot of things, but I think there's trouble in paradise.
I thought it was interesting at the end. The last letter is kind of like, no, we're going to kind of send an agent over and kind of check things out. Don't worry about that. We're going to send an agent over. And
like, why would he say like, I will make available my troopers to you if you want to come and interview them? Like, dude, it's already been done. Like we did that probably a year ago at this point. So I don't know. I thought it was
show Melanie who Chris A. and Lucky's brother is.
I heard somebody say Loughran on there when I was watching over there, and I was like, I wonder if that's Lucky's brother.
Yeah. What was I going to say? It's interesting to say that they had 40 witnesses, and I was like, oh, 40. That's who were all these people? Now even last night, everybody in the chat was like, oh, 40. I mean, of course, there's more people that are coming into this case, but I was just like, wow, there's a lot of witnesses. They're saying 40. So
40 witnesses at Karen's original grand jury.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be everybody from the medical examiner to some of the people that were in the house. Because remember, they didn't say right
first
away.
responders, the first responders, the ambulance drivers, all that.
Right.
Sure, firefighters.
Nothing exculpatory. You can pretty much bet your hat on that. But yeah, 40 witnesses, probably mostly law enforcement, I would say.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were like, listen, there were some people that were like, oh, why did you just jump on and do this? I'm like, when you have breaking news, sometimes you just break it and you read through it after. You want to get it out to the public because you all want to hear what's going on. You all want to see what's going on. I literally had them handed to me. My show was going to be a review show. I had a guest on. I had Tom CPU on. We're going to do a review of just one of the old hearings just to go over it and refresh. And literally, just as I'm going on, my source comes forward and they go, I have all 8 letters. And I went, huh? And they went, yeah, here, take them. Like, just show them to the public. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like switching the title and my thumbnail, and you just go live and you do it, and you work through it. And again, I'm not an attorney, but if I can give these out there for people to read, that's what we wanted to do last night.
People are saying Chris is talking again, so I don't know if we missed something.
Oops, I'll turn it up.
Speaker, now, if this is voted on this evening, then basically the authority goes to the town administrator to make that decision?
With your guidance.
With our guide.
And with the committee's input as well.
Muzzles, have a good night.
That's how the motion.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Alexandra McCarty, 61 Leonard Street. 2 quick questions. There was made mention of a regulation or legislative language specifically around the opt-out, opt-in. My question was that language permitting that it would be an opt-out, or is it requiring that the initiation is an opt-out? I'm curious about what the regulatory or perhaps legislative language said. Because I believe there might be a difference between the permissibility of having an opt-out as opposed to a requirement. And the other question I had was that there was mention that there's been a lot of outreach to the constituents, and admittedly, this is the first I've heard of the program. So I just wanted to better understand what some of those outreach activities have been to date.
Legislative regulatory language on the opt-in versus opt-out, first question. The design, as I was saying earlier, the regulatory process recognized that if you really do need to do the opt-in, automatic opt-in, in order to get the volume.
So that's, as in a statute, the language says it's required or it should be.
I think it's required. That's why it would be weird not to do it.
Well, it'd be against the law, right? So
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
very curious as to specifically what that language said.
Pretty sure that's true.
Okay, thank you very much.
What was the second question?
And the second question was the outreach activities that have
Oh.
been done to date to let the constituents know about this program.
Yeah. So when this was all approved through town meeting, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that. And once that happened, we started developing the proposal that eventually went to the department. That required several different notices that went publicly through newspaper and that website and town hall. Those notices gave the public an opportunity to comment on the proposal. And then we did some, different farmers market, for example. We had a table that we offered, on-site explanations of what that was about. So that is the bulk of what the outreach has been to date. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I apologize. I lied. Last question, third question, really. In terms of, I think we heard that depending on how many people really participate in this could have an effect on the rates across, this could be spread across the people, right? So my question is there going to be disclaimer language that speaks to this when folks are determining to opt in or opt out, that rates are subject to change based on really?
The rates, there's different kinds of rates. The rate that we're talking about through this particular program is a supply rate, your electricity itself, the electrons that you're buying through the wire. That is going to be locked in based on the length of the term. That can vary, as we were talking about before, 6, 12, 18, 24 months. At the same time, you're also subject to basic service rates by the utility.
Right.
That is really for distribution charges and transmission related charges. You can see those little line items on your bill. Those are subject to change. As Greg said earlier, Eversource generally changes those every 6 months.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jennifer O'Donnell.
Oh.
I just wanted to say that I think it's very admirable that you're trying to figure out a way
Jen.
to save the environment and make sure that we have a future on the planet for our children. And I think that the temporary setbacks and concerns that many have brought up are just that, very temporary, considering the grand scheme and the long-term effects that it'll have on the environment. So thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, one quick. So the 120 some odd communities that are already doing this, can we get data from them? And I don't know if that's through Mass Power Choice. I mean, I assume it is, but maybe it's something I send you an email like, this is what I'm looking for, but it would be good to have examples of, I understand we can't predict what the market rates are going to be, but we certainly have historical information of what they were. And we could see and show that to the residents of your average bill was 500 back in 2020, it would have gone to this. And does that make sense?
Yeah, the information I know I can get you quickly is a report that was published by a third-party researcher. I think it was UMass Boston. Might have been Amherst, that did an analysis of this program across a number of communities and showed what the savings associated with those programs are. The data itself is a little stale. I think the report was published in 2021. So it wouldn't necessarily be current, but it can give you a flavor. That's a published study. Their Mass Power Choice would have access to the towns that they represent. And I could ask him what's available to answer that question. I don't think it would be in as much detail as you just described. It would be more like cumulative savings or costs versus at the individual customer level.
Okay.
Does that satisfy you though?
Yeah, I mean, to Mr. Hines' point, if he has a $500 bill and he wants to, select this level of renewable energy, it'll go up to this, or it could go up to this, and at the highest, it could go up to that. So just to give the residents an idea of this is what you can expect.
Sure.
Even if it's not, exact, like it'll go up $25.
One of the things I talked to our outside counsel today on trying to do that for the committee.
Yep.
In order for us to give the reasonable information to allow you and town administrator, if you so delegate that decision, you need to know some information.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be getting that. I think I actually got an email in my inbox that might give me some information right now. That I'm happy to share with you. It's, intended to make decision making. There's another type of information that might be helpful. We did some examples of what Mr. Hines was asking about was do a comparison, like give me 3 columns and with this, with that, and what does it look like? And we did that as part of our original education outreach a year ago when we were putting this thing together. I thought it was a very helpful visual. I don't know if you guys remember, but I showed it to you, way back when. And it was just to give you a sense of like, okay, I'm sorry I didn't bring it with me today. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about that. I should have brought it, but I can share that with you as well.
So if we decide to, sorry, Mr. Chair, through
go
you,
right ahead.
if we decide to move this forward today, and then maybe at the next select board meeting or, the one right after that, we get you a list of, hey, if you can find this type of data.
I think she's gonna hang out. Don't worry.
Is Chris Albert
And
there?
then,
Is one of the
Yeah,
applicants?
he's
if
there.
based on that,
Which one is he?
all that would happen is if we
he's the
approve
bald
today,
guy.
we get access to that
Like
first window.
all of us
But if
sitting.
we decide, like, let's pump
I'll
the
show you when
brakes,
he
we're just
comes
opening
on
that
screen.
window. So there's a
Yeah,
low
he's
risk.
there.
But we
Yes.
could
He
still
wasn't
get in
there
the
last
first
week.
window if we
Exactly.
Listen, I'd be pissed if they were raising my electric rates too.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I mean, that what I'm
Well,
trying to,
it's
the
Taxachusetts,
sense of urgency
so.
is to
Hmm.
get us as many options as we can without having to make a decision.
Yeah, far right.
I'm sold.
Any other questions? So
He's right.
What will our motion be then, Mr. Law?
Well,
To the
so
right,
I'm gonna,
the girl with the
scale it to
computer and the
Mr.
donkey's coat.
Birmingham's,
Coffee
PowerPoint.
cup.
So,
Excuse me.
I make a motion that we authorize the town administrator to be the decision maker regarding the voluntary
Yeah, citizen
percentage
comments are the
and
best.
type of renewable energy credits to be included in the Canton Electricity Choice Program, consistent with the Mass DPU's approved aggregation plan.
We doing 3 of these one at a time or?
Well, so recommendation 1 is 2 separate motions.
I wasn't laughing because I
So
was
that's
reading
the
that
first.
decision.
Second.
So I wasn't reading the comments.
Okay,
But I'm
we'll
sure
go
you're
through
all
it.
very funny.
Oh, it's
Any other
hilarious.
Comments or questions?
I just have one, Mr. Chair, is that there seems to be a lot of concern in the speakers. There just seems to be in today's audience a lot of concern about different aspects. I don't see any problem in postponing this for another meeting and put it under advisement so we could get a little input from our constituents to see how they actually
Move
feel
along.
about what's been presented tonight. This has been, you had, Mr. Birmingham had their meeting last night, and this is the first we saw of it. I've already seen a lot of people speak on it that have concerns. This town has supported the renewable energy thing from the town meeting to where it is now. The board supported, but I don't see any problem holding this off for one meeting and getting a little bit of more input from
Oh God, they're gonna delay this again.
our constituents. We have these dates, but I don't think another meeting would hurt if we postponed it. And just put this whole thing under advisement till our next meeting.
Yes,
That's just,
that's
You want to vote?
that's
Town
Albert.
Administrator?
But that's what we're looking for right now.
Town
is just to give the
administrator.
Town administrator the authorization to act on this, correct, pretty much?
That's, yeah, number 1.
So I don't think we should be closing any doors if we don't have to.
So Mr. McCord, I was in your court. right?
Thank you.
Right? I'm waiting for like 3 weeks to be able to use that. So I was thinking the same thing, but the fact that
Cringy.
if, we ask Mr. Birmingham to present us information and we decide that this is not what we want, and we start, sharing that with the residents and they're reaching out saying this is not what we want, we can pull back. Like there's no risk here.
Our pullback is directing.
I know Caillou.
Yeah,
town administrator. Correct. That's our pullback.
Yep.
Nice.
So basically, it's in.
Or we could tell Mr. Birmingham that this is not the direction we want to go at this time. Right, by voting this tonight, to Mr. Birmingham's point,
Yeah,
all
read
this
his
does
fine
is give
tuning.
us options. So it's giving us more options so that we can make a better decision of whether or not to proceed or
My
not.
concern is if we vote this tonight, that we're not locking into anything.
Correct, right?
Correct.
Right.
Not locking into anything, nothing happens, no notices are going out.
Correct.
We're just putting the town administrator on the lead on this.
So you don't have to pay your electric bill?
Right.
Yes.
Sounds good to
I
me.
have that motion. Any other questions? Second then?
Toss long until the battle's
Motion made
over.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed?
Move along. Let's get to public comments. Leslie, move on already.
3-2, so passes. Okay, what's the next motion?
Next, I authorize the town administrator to sign the applicable electricity supply
Oh,
contract
God.
on behalf of the Canton Electricity Choice Program.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
All opposed? 3-2.
3-2. We win. Let's go.
Okay, my brother, what is our next topic of discussion?
Let's hear about the
And then,
billboards.
Do you need us to make motions on the other two recommendations? I'm not sure that we do.
Clerk, just to summarize.
Courtney says
we're-
hashtag skip
we
to the
do
good
need
part.
make a compliance file with the department. Our current deadline is Friday. If you don't need to vote on this, if you want to just give me a nod
Oh
or
my God.
I don't, would talk to the town administrator. I would like to file the compliance filing by Friday, unless you object.
Who's
As
this poor
been
guy? Is he
drafted by
their
our-
lawyer?
Our outside counsel. It's good to go. It's ready.
This guy's always talking about like electricity and how it's going to
So,
shape things.
He's the brains behind the
Yeah, he's
operation.
the brains of the
Direction from the board, though.
operation. To be honest with you, this is
And
probably
the
only
last
like my
point
second or
is,
third
are
one
you
watching.
okay
I don't all
with me going
know all the
to
major
outside counsel and
players.
starting to pull all this information.
Yeah, he's the
together,
electric
'cause he
company
needs
rep.
Permission to go to the utilities and all that stuff. So if that's okay with you, and that'll help expedite.
Oh, I can't wait. The billboards were great last
my,
week.
Request for information from Mr. Laughlin.
Does that require a motion or just guidance?
Always head of the
Guidance
Dedicrum
from the
committee.
board is acceptable.
Fine, perfect.
Great.
Thank you
Sorry
so
it took
much.
so long.
No,
but
no,
some
I'm
questions.
glad
He's the next slide guy. He always says next slide, please. Next slide.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.
All right.
Birmingham.
Thank you. Good 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about billboards.
Let's see, Mr. Lockman. what do
Next, we have
see?
an update for the Canton Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. I have the chair, Ms. Gallagher here.
Mr. Rappaport.
And Mr. Rappaport. as
Yeah, they're
well.
going to delay it all the way to the end. I'm telling you. Everybody's like, bye. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us tonight.
Bye-bye.
We haven't actually done this. This is my first time as chair. And it is our intention to come back and have regular connections with the select board as a way of accessing a broader swath of the Canton community. So we are pleased to be here tonight. We want to start by reading our mission statement. The Canton Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee seeks to foster a welcoming and inclusive community that encourages cooperation and respect among all persons in Canton. CDEI will celebrate and embrace the traditions and
Brian, you said this was going to be an
within
hour.
our community and advocate for the human and civil rights.
So I came in.
You
at
gotta
the end
go.
of the
It's
hour.
okay.
I just wanted to talk about
through
that motion
education,
decision.
Okay.
Promoting
No,
community
just kidding.
awareness and
Do
understanding
you want me? I
cultural
can. If
differences.
you want to pull it up, I can do it.
Or
really quick.
no, I'll just go into the green room
to
until
equity and
they're done talking because everybody here wants to watch it, so I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, Okay, so today we want
I
to tell
really
you a
don't
little
care
bit
about this. I just
what
want to
we've
see when
done
the
so
people
far
get up
this
and start
year
firing back.
and where we're going.
No, somebody got mad when we were
So
talking.
we did do things a little bit differently. We started in July. We had our first summer workshop. We've never done that before.
Oh,
But
gosh.
we really sat down to talk about what do we want to accomplish this year? What's the audience we want to reach? Who are the people we want to get to? And we came down to a theme of inclusion means everyone. Be an ally. Canton is made up of a majority of white cisgendered people.
Oh gosh, I don't even
We
want to
want
listen to
to
this.
access everyone in Canton as we are doing this work. We want everyone to come to the table and to be part of our conversation.
Just mute
and
it. Do you want to talk about the
So that was our
document?
strategy session.
Okay, let me.
Well, I don't want to take people away from this. It's very important that people show up to town meetings. They
Right.
probably have a much larger audience since you started covering these, I can imagine, than anybody ever went to them before. So that's good
Yeah.
on you that people are, taking, you got to know what's going on in your community.
Please talk. Yes, interrupt. All right. Let's do this. Let's pull the document up because if I don't want to take.
No, I can just go over there and do something else until they're done talking. So I don't
Okay.
interrupt the people that want to watch this. Just put me in the green room and I'll be watching over there. And I'll come back.
All right.
And they
I
need to
promise.
know that we are here. And that is in multiple areas, right? Multiple groups of people are hurting here. Other things that we've done, our Facebook page, the reason I'm making notable posts, our Facebook page is our primary way to communicate with people right now. We are putting together a Friends of CDEI. It's just starting to get towards the top of the hill before we'll finally start sending stuff out. But right now our Facebook page is really the place to go for information, and that's where all of our events are and where we push stuff out. So in October, actually it was early November, we supported the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church. So we have made a partnership with them to work together and expand our impact on the overall community by engaging with others. We don't have to be the ones hosting everything. So the first thing that we did with them was to bring in Thomas Green, who is the vice president of the Neponset Band of the Massachusetts Tribe. And he came and spoke at FPUU on a Saturday morning in November. And it was very moving. It was it was organized by Mr. Rappaport here. And it was a really wonderful day.
You can't forget the first residents of the Canton were the Native Americans. So at every meeting, we start off with a acknowledgement of the Native Americans who were our first inhabitants of Canton.
Thank you. We've also supported the Champions of Wellness road race. This is the brainchild of a couple of high school students. And of course, we have several teachers that are part of our committee. So through that work, they're engaged with the school and invited us to come and help promote. The Champions of Wellness was focused on mental health and belonging. And what is inclusion if not belonging? So we felt that this was very much in the space of what we're trying to tackle this year, and we were happy to do it. Got to meet a lot of people who didn't realize we existed. So hopefully there will be fewer of those by the end of the year. November 13th to the 20th is to the 19th is the week leading up to the Transgender Day of Remembrance. This is an event. It's a national holiday, which is dedicated. It's designated in order to identify and acknowledge all of the people who have lost their lives over the past year to violence. And it is sad because every year there are people, and there is a list of names that we read. If you scan that QR code, you can actually access the list that we read that night. So for each day leading up to that, we included an additional post on our Facebook page. It's information. A lot of people don't know how to talk about things. And they're curious or they just, you know,
And this was held at the Canton High School cafeteria, and it was a very nice turnout. And it's just opening up, opportunities for people to come to events that they felt they weren't welcome to before. I'm going to backtrack.
Okay.
Because Nicole is the new chairperson, but we also did things in 2023 that I want to discuss. So last year we had no snow, but in February we had a Black History Month that got canceled twice. And so we tried to put on a really nice presentation, but the two snowstorms wiped that out, unfortunately.
the only winter we had all year.
Um, we showed up at the Paul Revere Heritage Day. We took out a booth to educate people what we are, what we're trying to accomplish. At the farmers market, we showed up, and June 17th we had a Juneteenth Freedom Day at Northern Spy, which is very well attended. And on June 1st we had the Pride flag ceremony at the library. So I give kudos to the library. And I want to say every one of our select board members was there that day, and that was very appreciated. Representative Feeney was there, Representative Galvin was there. And, for young people to see town leaders and the state leaders there, it really just gives them a sense of pride that day. So I appreciate that everybody came. This year, I'm going to put more pressure on you for pride. I want something even bigger and better for the town. So look out for me for that.
I was actually going to turn it over to
Can
him
we get
in
a
a
hot
minute.
dog truck though, instead of the ice cream truck? A hot dog truck would be nice.
Exactly. The ice creams were good.
We can start with the bottom of the list and work our way up. We're planning Juneteenth again. This year, we'd like to hold it on the day. It's a Wednesday. Everyone has the day off. We would like to celebrate on the day of and acknowledge why we all have the day off. So you will see some requests coming through for the permits to make sure all of that happens. I'll work with you on that. We're very excited to move that forward though. And voting that date was something we wanted to do early on so that we can communicate with our neighborhood communities also. We don't want to have conflicting celebrations. And we were the first town in the area to hold a Juneteenth. So we really feel that it's a signature event for this committee, and we want to continue that tradition. You want to talk about Pride this year?
Not yet. I want to talk about what's taking place this Sunday.
Mhm.
Everybody, you can see on the screen, we're going to be having a Zoom presentation by this Charlotte Korchak, who lives in Israel. And I think it will be before the football game, something to really watch and to hear. So I think this will be a really good thing. You can watch from your home. It's going to be in a Zoom. So that will be nice.
Our Facebook page.
Yeah, so Canton Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. You can get the link for that. Our Facebook page, we try to update it every week with different celebrations. So we try to hit every group to welcome them to Canton and to thank them for being a sponsor, a member of our group, society. We have 2 open seats. Anybody can apply to the select board for these openings, and we would love to get some new members involved. And, we have a budget that we ask for you every single year, and thankfully you increase it each time we ask. But it's to get really quality speakers to come to these events. And, we're a volunteer organization. We don't know anything. So, we're trying to get real first-class speakers to educate us and make us a better community.
Absolutely. So to that end, we are planning on hosting a Black History Month event this year. We're planning on including a Zoom link so that we have a backup just in case. We won't get caught in the same trap. The Lunar New Year is something I believe we're working with the library on.
Right.
In March, we will put together a Transgender Day of Visibility, which is the opposite of the Day of Remembrance. This is actually a celebration. So it's a much happier event. In April, we will participate in the Heritage Days again. And in May, we're planning to participate in the GMS Cultural Heritage Night. Help out as much as we can. I myself have children in the school, so I will be there as a parent. But it is a wonderful event. We want to do more. There are more things that haven't made the list because we don't have bandwidth. We're all working full time. Even though those of us who aren't are volunteering extensively. When people come to our meetings, they sit at the table with us. We set it up in a square on purpose so that we welcome everybody's voice. And it really is intended to feel like a safe space. So we have 2 open seats. You don't have to commit to being on the committee to come to the meetings. We are the second Monday of every month.
We thank you for your support.
Thank you. Very good job. Thank you for all your work.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Doody. Thank you. Good luck.
Do you have a date for the February event?
We are targeting the 9th, but we haven't locked down logistics yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then sometime in May, we'll see Alan again for his big ask.
Yes.
Look forward to that.
Thank you.
So this is when, Alan, you wanted to, we're going to move you up a little bit on the, behind you, we're going to move you up a little bit on the agenda. Is that what you were talking about?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make this quick. I do have slides on if you're going to put them up, but the only reason I wanted to have some slides tonight is because, and I believe that you may all have, oops, I'm supposed to do that myself. The only reason I wanted to have some slides is because even though our organization's been around for a while and
They
we've
wanted
had
you
a
back,
lot of
Melanie.
success, I still get people who come up.
I was crying. I was laughing so hard reading that chat.
You know, what the Revere and Son Heritage Trust is supposed to be doing. And so we are the organization who are raising money to help turn the historic site into a museum. Part of that process is we seek funds and file for grants. In 2022, we worked with Laura Smead.
I'm trying to save you, but it's not working.
To file for a grant
Raise your
request
hand if you want to come to the green room with me. That's where all
They
the
were all
cool
like,
kids
let's go to
are.
the green room.
Facilities Fund grant. We were awarded $200,000.
I appreciate you doing this. I didn't think it was going to go this
Somebody
long.
said, how about we plan a Michael Morrissey arraignment day?
Awarding
How
some
about
to
we
get the
the
money
200 grand and we can
go
get a
off and do what you
statue
want
made?
with it. Others, like this one, we put together what our plan was to build this museum. We had funding, as you know, from the ARPA grants that we received to do the design work. This grant request was to start for our building process, to start creating the museum. We were awarded $200,000.
I have nothing to add to this but comedy, you guys. And
But there are some stipulations.
it's a very
to that
serious
grant.
show right now.
One of the stipulations is that we need to come up with one-to-one funding. So whatever we are going to spend of the grant money, we have to have associated dollars.
I mean, I don't know, but they're asking for me to save them. Maybe hit mute until you see the people come up that I want to, the community comments. Is that what you're waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. But
People ask me to save them. I can't deny them. I mean, I'm here for the comedy, but yeah, like they say, let's mute it until the public comments, and then I can just give you my quick rundown on that motion decision that you read earlier.
You can do that. I'll bring you up.
I mean, I can just give you, I can tell you my what for. First of all, I think it's very sad that journalists in Massachusetts seem to have no privilege whatsoever. It's one of 4 states that does not allow journalists to protect their notes, their sources, and their work product. And that's pretty scary. So if you're a journalist, I suggest you move to a different state. That's my legal advice, not legal advice for this evening. The last thing that I noticed is that, the judge goes on and on. She's going to turn over the 2 audio recordings with redactions because, Karen's team didn't really oppose that motion because I think they realized they were there for it. And she didn't say anything incriminating. Obviously, that's what they're looking for in this fishing expedition. But the judge also says she's denying this motion without prejudice. That means they can
Yeah.
make the motion again. Means if they don't get what they want, they have the right to go back and make this motion again for the handwritten notes and for the stuff that was off the record. So I don't like that.
So she could pry at it again and try to get it
They
again.
can pry at it again.
What let me ask you a question with like your experience, on the record, off the record stuff. I mean, I kind of know what that is, but maybe we can explain that a little bit to the audience. What would be concerning that Karen's team would be concerned about, if anything, these off the record notes? What do you usually see in that type of stuff?
I mean, there's no hypothetical for that. I mean,
Could be
would she say
anything.
something incriminating off the record with her lawyer there? Probably not.
Probably not.
But she could say off the record, I have inside information that so and so did it, or that,
Sure.
or that, these two had beef, or that John was investigating somebody who may have been there, something like that. She may have said off the
Right.
record that she didn't have confirmation of, or things that she didn't want to get out. I mean, that's why I hate to
Right. We don't
hypothesize
know.
about
Yeah,
it.
we
But,
don't know.
the fact that they're allowed to go back and make this motion again if they don't get what they want is a little bit concerning to me. And I think that journalists should be better protected. She laid out in her affidavit how frightened she was and how she was being harassed. And the judge even addressed how she was fearful for Gretchen Voss's safety. But, then again, not so fearful for her safety that she's willing to turn over the audio recordings. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit scary to be a journalist right now in Massachusetts, you guys. It's a little bit scary. And I find it interesting that they're so, she's so willing to give away a journalist's information when it's been so hard for the defense to get third-party discovery, because what this is third-party discovery. This is discovery from a person who's not a party to this case, and the defense is having such a hard time getting the phone records, getting the data, getting the Google searches, getting the Ring camera footage that doesn't exist, whether or not there was a Ring or a Nest camera at that house. They're having a very, very uphill battle with that. And even though this attorney for Boston Magazine came in, and even though journalistic privilege is at issue here, it seems like it's just like, okay, take it. But, they agreed to that at the motions hearing too. So I guess she feels like no harm, no foul, but granting that without prejudice is a little concerning to me.
I just think that, they're just going to try to keep really pushing this to get this to a trial. But I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, in my opinion, I think that if you get those witnesses on the stand in front of Jackson, Yannetti, and Little, they're going to shred them. I mean,
Well, based on the letters that we read, it depends on what the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI release as far as information goes. And if this goes to the 15th, the charges could be dismissed. I mean, don't get your hopes up, everybody. But
right.
I mean, those letters were explosive, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's check in on our meeting here. Oh, God. This is like a 4-hour meeting tonight.
Do you remember that? There used to be a TV show where it was like two guys and they would play like an old movie, but they would turn off the sound and then they would make up the voices. What was the name of that show?
Oh, that was Mystery Science Theater 3000 or 2000.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, we should. Well, what I wanted to come down here tonight is just waste everybody's time. And
My wife picked out the sweater for me, and I know it's sweater weather, but I don't really like it either. But she was
I like
over
the
at
half neck.
Marshall's, and she picked this out for me. I don't really like the zip neck, the quarter zip. The quarter zip is not really for me, but I don't even think it's my color.
Yeah. Well, she went over here, she went over there. I just couldn't figure out what color I wanted.
We're gonna go to the waterfall after this, everybody. Everybody want to come?
Yeah, anybody want a drink? That was a great Boston accent, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you very
Really
much.
good.
It's on my resume.
Oh,
You
God.
change your $1. Anybody have change for $1?
Change for $1.
Change for $1. What was
Toxic
the name of that
Caroline.
show? Was that what it was called? I don't remember it being that long, the title, but
Change for $1.
no, the show with the two guys making
Oh,
up
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, really? And when did that? I mean, it's an old show, right? We're dating ourselves.
Yeah, it was like it was like 90s up until like the early 2000s, I think, and then it went out and they tried bringing it back and it didn't.
It was so funny though, wasn't it?
It was hilarious. Oh gosh. All right, let's see what we got
This is
here.
what we have. We want to get moving.
Well, we know we want to get moving to start continuing to develop our attractions. I don't know if anybody, the museum is open on every Saturday, so walk through there. I mean, we have exhibits that are being developed. And we just received 2 other grants, probably another $40,000 of grants that are going in towards, we're developing a copper exhibit. We are continuing to move forward, but the real big, museum of innovation, it's going to be akin to like
Bring your
the
own
Children's
cocktail
Museum
glasses
across
to the
from
waterfall.
Philadelphia.
Yeah,
It's
right.
some real money, which is, but we're continuing our
Everybody
efforts.
park the
But
car in the
we
parking
are
lot
expecting that by June 25,
for a
we're
waterfall.
gonna have a good chunk of this underway.
You got a quarter?
Mr. Chair, one more question. Alan, on the design, you're in the design phase of the museum.
Holy smokes.
Design phase we have all the initial designs. Our
What are
group
they
of
designing?
experts have sent back some feedback to them. They've come back with some changes. We are about ready to go public. As you know, we're also kicking off the capital campaign very heavily, which is why I wanted to bring this up tonight. And so
Mystery Science Theater's on
ready to
YouTube
go
now, if
public.
anybody wants to find
Trying
it.
to get through all the
I'm going to
same
find
thing
it.
as you
I'm gonna
are,
go watch that
budgets and
later.
things like
No,
that.
what I'm gonna do
We're ready
later
to
when
go
I need some
public
comic
with
relief is I'm gonna go
design
back and
side,
watch
get
this
some
chat
public
because it was
input on
really
those.
funny. You guys are on
That was good.
fire.
Some pieces of that are
Yeah, and by
already
the way,
started.
if you haven't gone over and subscribed to
But other
Melanie's little
pieces of
channel,
that
you
we're,
need
so,
to. Let me
but
grab her link and
we're ready
drop
to
it.
go public with what this thing is.
And design is
Ooh,
fully
and
funded, the
also
construction
you can,
documents and bid, is that,
Pardon?
is
if you're
it
not
fully
subscribed to
funded
this
right
channel
now?
that you're currently watching, just hit
Construction
that button.
documents
It's
and
free.
bid, or is
Thank
it
you.
for the design? It's not, that's not fully funded.
The total cost of the museum would probably,
Subscribe.
the initial,
I'm just talking design and construction. Design and construction, the architectural.
yeah, design and construction are
Architectural.
already funded.
It's
It's already
architectural.
funded.
They're
so
already funded.
That's
You have
what
it
the
too.
bid was.
Oh, I
It's
have
just the
bad.
funding for the project.
Not as
Right.
Tom has it.
Thank you.
Tom
And
has
this
it more than
money,
me.
the $200,000.
As you move
Can you spend
away
that on
from
an
Boston,
exhibit?
it kind of
It's not a
waters
museum.
down a little
so
bit.
for the
Waters
museum-
down
Waters
or
down.
waters down? Water or water?
Exactly. This is
Back to the green room, says Mark.
Yeah, the first.
We'll
tranche of
put them in
money
the
that we
green
got
room.
For the design was specifically for design. We couldn't start building with that because it was specifically labeled for design.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So 2 asks, 1, approval.
Ding, ding,
and
ding,
2,
ding.
consideration of changing the, when we move forward with town ATM to change the spending. And I've already talked to Wayne Scollins about that. He's all in favor of making sure we have the flexibility to do that.
Any other questions?
Just briefly, so changing the spending limit. I mean, we don't need to
Briefly.
make a motion because that's going to go to town meeting.
I don't think
You're
you
just
need to do
looking
that at this point.
Yep, okay. I move that the board authorize the Paul Revere Trust Budget number, account 142 to be used as a match for a state grant in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
Second.
It's a lot of money.
Just to clarify too, I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt going around that the
Scuttlebutt.
government.
It's a lot of money, 200 grand.
Things
Yeah.
of this nature, I'll cut them in half.
A lot of
That
scuttlebutt.
doesn't affect.
So the clawback, we've
Clawback,
already
thank you.
reviewed all the clawbacks. We lost $25,000 of another earmark that we had granted to us. But this one
Doesn't
does
affect
not
us.
fall under that.
Want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So a motion been made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heinz.
Scuttlebutt.
Next on the agenda, Mr. Walker.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have the open meeting law.
Free Billy
regarding
Tibbetts.
Best practices for posting agenda.
Free my boy Billy
materials,
Tibbetts.
Posting of meeting minutes, public recordings of meetings, et cetera. And I will defer to Mr. Duty on this.
Yes. Mr.
Duty.
Chair, Last week, we received an open meeting law complaint
What's
from
this?
a gentleman from Northport, Alabama, who was evidently an open meeting law expert. And he sent us a letter, and he had 4 points about our meeting of December 27th. The first complaint was that we did not list the names of the candidates for license renewals on their agenda. And we didn't include that in the posted agenda online. We have it in our office of our permanent records, but we didn't.
Thank you for the
do
10.
that when we posted. The second complaint was that we did not list the documents used by the public body during the meeting. Again, same situation. We have those in our permanent records available in our office, but we didn't post them online. The third was that we discussed a bathroom installation bid for the Paul Revere Heritage Site when the topic was not listed on the posted
Isn't this how
agenda.
you want to spend your
That one
Tuesday night with
is,
me, listening to a
incorrect.
select board meeting?
I mean, I gotta go take care. I gotta go pay attention to my kids at some point today, but I just want to jump in and say hi.
The fourth
If you need
was
to go,
we did
it's
not
cool.
announce that the
I
meeting was being
perfectly, it's okay.
recorded,
Wait, Larry
before
wants
the
us to
meeting,
shush.
which
All right, I better go. I'm
we do
disrupting.
sometimes we don't. I think
I'm
it's just great
disrupting.
to get cables here and people realize
Bye, Melanie.
they're on
Thank
TV,
you.
but we need to do that prior to each meeting, make that public announcement. So, that being said, going forward, the next time we do approvals of licenses for whatever reason, victuals, liquor licenses, we're going to be
She had
sure
to
to
go.
attach
It's okay.
that
She had to
list
go.
to the agenda, and we'll also make sure that it's posted with the minutes online. Also, we'll post the documents that are public online as well that were used in the meeting. And then you just have to remember to say we're being recorded,
Yes.
which is pretty easy. And then, as I said, the claim that we took an item that was not on the agenda is not valid. So, that being said, I would ask that the board will make a motion and approve the town council to respond as required by law to the open meeting violation complaint with our plan of corrective action.
You ready for that? I move that the board authorize town council office to respond to the complaints regarding the open meeting violations.
Second.
Motion made second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a quick question. So when we do the licenses, like I said, we'll still group them, but they'll just be published.
Yeah,
correct?
we just need to make sure we attach the list of licenses
Right.
to the agenda.
Okay. Next.
Excuse me? Is that all there is regarding the open meetings?
Those are the four.
Melanie left.
Okay, do we have a comments regarding it?
Well, we just voted on it. Did you, it was in regards to these four topics that were just.
Well, regarding just the open speaking laws in general, since it was brought to the
This is
table.
something separate that's on the agenda. This is something
Yeah.
we're responding to a request.
And mine is regarding my own personal complaint regarding the way that you're conducting your open meetings.
Well, we can take
So
that up
I
in
feel
public.
it
We can
falls
take that up
under
in public
this.
comment.
But I have something else for
We can
that.
take that up in public comment.
But this is regarding the
issue that we
public
did- The issue
meetings.
that we just spoke to was the
complaint,
the correspond, or the complaint that
official
we
complaint.
received. That's
But it
what- that-
opened the
that-
door to
That's what we just were dealing with. Now.
But it's
if you go-
regarding complaints
I understand that.
about open meeting
I
laws.
understand that, so that can come up in the public comment section.
Or,
But it's,
or Mr. Chair, she can do
Email the
as this
select
person
board.
did and email the select board with her complaints, and then we can put it on the agenda as we did here.
That's what your other option. If you want, if you'd like to mail it, send us a complaint.
if
Again,
you were
we'll put on
talking
the
about a
agenda.
policy regarding anything else, would it not be open for us to discuss? We just had a 45-minute discussion amongst the entire room here
Right.
regarding a
But
green
regarding the
energy.
topic that he was talking about.
And I'm
Now, this
talking
is
about
the
the
topic, excuse me, I'm going to ask you, the topic that we were just discussing was the correspondence that we received in the mail. We are responding to that. Now,
Okay,
If you have something else you'd
so
like to add,
I
we could
do.
it. We could
I
do that
filed a
during the
complaint
public
with you
comment
guys
section.
this week as
Let's move
well.
on. Let's move on. Mr. Lockwood, have a seat. You can do it during the public comment section.
I move that the board approve the application to obtain a special license to serve wine and malt beverages at one-day events to be held for the Milton Players located at 3 Randolph Street, Canton on February 2nd, 2024, February 3rd, 2024, February 9th, 2024, February 10th, 2024 at 8 p.m., contingent upon building commissioner, police chief, and fire chief approval.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
At the recommendation of the Human Resource Director and the Chief of Police, I move that the board appoint the crossing guard for Jolly Jessica.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
The library trustees have approved this request, so at the recommendation of the Human Resource Director and the Library Director, I move that the board appoint library page Lisa Quinn, William Gong Harjula, and Saji Sobhi.
I'll be there, Paul.
Motion been made and seconded.
I'll
Any
be
other
there with you.
comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, I'm sorry.
That's right. The Board of Health has the appointing authority for this matter. They are meeting on the February 5th, and this approval will be contingent upon them approving this.
Thank you for the
appointment.
10, Paul. I appreciate
So
it.
I move that the board approve the PAF for part-time Board of Health nurse Maeve Moore.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none.
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
I move that the board approve the PAF for Director of Facilities and Grounds Brian Lynch.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 0.
At the recommendation of the Sick Bank Committee, I move that the board approve the appointment of Sick Bank Committee member Susan Musto.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. These donations are always accepted by the Select Board. I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. The following donations in memory of Kay Tomiski: $25 from Patricia Jordan, $50 from Philip Bamus, $100 from Louis and Marlene Venno, $150 from the O'Donnell family, $25 from Shirley Lerner Nicholson, and $50 from Richard J. Haggerty.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions, comments? Hearing
Could
none,
I
all in
ask-
favor?
make a comment or ask a question, sir?
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Greg Murphy, 19 Wild Drive. Regarding this donation, it doesn't, the motion didn't seem to specify what is the donation to? The other ones tend to.
Which one are you looking at?
The one you're talking about right now, number 9 on the agenda.
Oh,
It
I see.
Mentions, who-
yeah,
you know, that
okay, I
it's
see. In memory of Kate Tominski, right?
it's in memory of her, and it's all
And
the
let me
donation.
okay, I'm
but
looking-
it's a
just looking
donation
at it.
to who? To what department? To
So what department, excuse me?
Department of Elder Services and
Department of
Human.
Elder Services.
Sorry.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, Department of Elder Services. Yeah,
So-
no, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I make a substitute motion that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. The following donations in the memory of Kay Tomiski: $25 from Patricia Jordan, $50 from Philip Bamus, $100 from Louis and Marlene Venno, $150 from the O'Donnell family, $25 from Shirley Lerner Nicholson, $50 from Richard J. Haggerty, and those donations would go to the Department of Elder Services.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for those donations.
Next, Mr. Chair, I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. The donation of $1,000 to the fire department from Lynn and Harold March.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Next, I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, a donation to the Department of Elder and Human Services in memory of John Ruane from Carol Munson.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No amount on that?
Sorry, do we have, oh yeah, there is no, do you have an amount on that? Not at this time, so.
Okay, that's fine.
Next.
Next, Mr. Chair, at our last meeting, there were a lot of questions about the billboard mitigation account, so I wanted to give an update on that.
Everybody's
and
running
clarify
away.
Some of the
Everybody's running away.
misinformation.
Thanks,
that
James.
was being questioned at that meeting.
Hey, second, Mr. Clerk. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Let me just pick this up here. Okay. Good, good.
All set?
We don't
Yes.
have it.
Yeah. So
We don't have it.
as we stated at the last meeting, there are currently 3 media locations, billboard locations in the town of Canton. 75 Shawmut Road, which you can see from Route 95, 150 Royal Street, which you can see from 128, and 120 Cedar Street, which you can see from Route 24. These are the 3 billboards, all from Outfront Media. Municipalities will often enter into these mitigation agreements because the billboards are sometimes described as visual pollution and can have negative impacts on the aesthetics and livability of a community. To deal with these negative impacts, these are frequently mitigated through grants and proper zoning procedures to construct billboards in appropriate locations. The billboards Canton has approved are located on highways to further lessen the negative impact to the town. As I mentioned, there are 3 locations that are existing. There is an additional one that is being proposed right now on 50 Getchell Way, which is in Canton, but on the Randolph line. And again, that would be visible by Route 24. I do want to clarify the town does not have any billboard grant agreement with Legacy Place, and billboards are located in the town of Canton, but they are on private property and not on Canton town-owned land. So I apologize if it's difficult to read, but these are the 2023 grant acceptances at select board meetings. So January 10th, we received one for 62.5. January 31st was 141, 279.74, and I'll circle back to why that number is different. We received another one March 28th, April 11th, June 20th, July 11th, September 12th, October 10th, and December 19th, and then most recently, January 9th. So depending on the billboard location, determines how much we receive. So the one on Cedar Street, we received $12,500 per quarter. The one on Royal Street, we received $31,250 per quarter. And the one on Shawmut, $18,750 per quarter. So the total grant revenue is $250,000. However, part of the mitigation agreement that we sign is the town is also entitled to a certain percentage of the revenue that billboard generates. And that first number that was in January, that was an odd number, 141, 249. That was the 2022 payment for all of those agreements that were revenue agreements that were over the original price. The original agreement, yep. So recent projects that were funded through this billboard mitigation. All right, my eyes are just not what they are. We've done some work on various streets. We've put work into the reservoir pond for the dam, having that studied. There was testing of the rolling mill back in 2020. Earl Newhouse improvements. Just trying to look at some of the, some of this went to the JFK bathroom project, pickleball project, Paul Revere Heritage Bridge. So these are just some examples of where that money is being spent. The next slide gives an overview of our existing mitigation accounts and the funds that are existing in them. So the billboard account currently has $1.138 million in it. So we felt the need to inform the public that we are not taking mitigation amounts every single select board meeting. And we wanted to clarify where these locations were and that they are in the town of Canton, but not on town-owned land. So that was the point of that.
Rita Lombardi, 8 Kings Road. Excuse me. I looked at some of the agreements, and it looks like we have an agreement with, I forget the name of it, for 35 years. Is that correct? There's one of the billboards we have for 35 years for $50,000.
So I didn't look at the agreements.
Okay,
as
I
part of
saw,
this,
I saw one of
but
the
that wouldn't
agreements.
surprise me.
Yeah,
Yep.
so, I mean, I'm all for taking money, but it's $50,000 for 35 years, and then 5% over that. The future value of that $50,000 is not going to be the same as $50,000 in today's money. And I'm just curious, when we negotiate these these agreements, is somebody from finance involved in the conversation? I was surprised to see an agreement that went over 35 years for the same flat amount. So when something like this is negotiated, is it negotiated with the board or is it negotiated with finance? How does that work?
I would have to defer.
So it's negotiated through town council.
Yep.
Our town council with the Outfront Media, or whoever the.
Their
company
council.
So is
their
finance involved in that?
Not until the agreement has been signed, and then.
Really? Because, I mean, $50,000 in today's money isn't going to buy the same thing 35 years from now. So just for future agreements on that. And I just want to ask, is there a way that you can post what you just showed us on the website or something so that we can see some of the ways where they have gone?
Sure. So I do want to also state, all of this is part of the annual financial audit of the select board, of the finance department and the entire town. And then this information is available at annual town meeting. But specifically the slides that we
Yeah,
posted.
just because it's helpful to us.
Sure.
I mean, you showed us, but we couldn't really read it.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
And, just back on that 35 years, I mean, if we could, I'm from the business world and we would never have a lawyer sign a contract without having somebody from finance present because of the values of the money. So just for future things, we want to get our bang for our buck. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer O'Donnell. I have a problem with the fact that you said that there were only about 6 different donations made. I pulled directly from your agendas, and that is how you have it worded on your agenda. So if you have some way of putting it into accounting to only show up a certain way, that's on you guys. But according to your agendas, you received a donation every single meeting. I couldn't pull November or December when I was doing my research. I listed the dates during the last meeting. Those dates came from your agendas. I had the article number and the price. So somewhere the information isn't lining up. And I understand that your calendar year versus your financial year might be different.
Should I give him?
Yep.
I have the agendas for you.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to go through them.
All right,
But we've
that's
gone
fine.
through them and verified them. We accepted donations, 9 of the 31.
And that's not even close to what I listed in the last one. And those all came off of this year's agenda.
Those are this
So,
year's agendas.
so those are this year's agendas. So if you have different information, please
Pulled right
email
from
that to the select
website.
board.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll pull the
And,
dates.
and we'll
and-
absolutely figure out where the disconnect is.
Next on the agenda.
Next, we have the vendor warrant.
I have a question. Elise Cohen. Can you tell us the names of the companies that own the property where those billboards are?
They're private property.
I don't have that on, but we can certainly look into it if you like.
Yeah, I
do
would
not
like-
I do not have that information. in
Because
front of
that information hasn't been forthcoming. I would like to know which companies are involved in those billboards. Thank
Look
you.
into it.
Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have the vendor warrant total for the week of 1/12/2024 $2,548,739.79. The payroll warrant total for the week of 1/12/2024, $1,477,425.29. The vendor warrant total for the week of 1/19/2024, $589.68. And the payroll warrant total for the week of 1/19/2024, $333,211.40. Next, I move that the board approve the cemetery lot perpetual care deeds.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Next, I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment final bills in the amount of $11,545.31.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment residential in the amount of $5,218,417.45.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Next, I move that the board approve the minutes from the select board meeting of January 9th, 2024.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Next, Mr. Chair, we have the town administrator update.
Charles, Mr. Duty?
Mr. Chair, just a few items. The first thing is, recently there's been two January 9th and the 22nd accidents involving the Bolivar Street Bridge. We've had, in fact, the trailer truck hit it most recently on the 22nd. And there were some questions out there about what is the town's response when that happens, and is anything being done to prevent further accidents? So I will say that when these types of accidents happen, and it's happened in the past at this location, Keolis is the contractor that works with the MBTA that does the maintenance of the track. They are notified immediately by the Canton Police and the Canton Fire Department, and they were notified in this instance. And then inspectors from Keolis were dispatched to inspect the bridge, making sure that it was still structurally sound, and it was reported back to us that it was, and the trains are once again flowing across that bridge. Additionally, the DPW will be installing additional signage on Bolivar Street, warning trucks of the hazard ahead and the height restrictions. And I believe there is a meeting scheduled for Thursday with
Thursday
an
morning.
engineering team
Yeah.
to look at perhaps more advanced notification systems like electronic signs or some type of warning to a driver as they approach. I spoke to Keolis today actually to inquire about the repainting of the markings on the bridge, the height restriction and the caution. And I am waiting to hear back from the division that handles that, whether or not they'll come out and do that, or whether the town is able to do that. So we are working on it, and I think we'll have some improvements to Bolivar Street there.
Thank you.
Oh, the last thing is DPW also notified. Yep, hold on one sec, just let me finish my report. So the last thing that we did was the engineering notified Google and Waze and requested that there'd be some notification on the apps that warn drivers of the hazard of the low height in the bridge. Sorry.
Greg Murphy, 19 mile. I actually submitted that request to Google myself. So more to do it, I think it will help. But my question is, it doesn't sound like we have control over it, but can we request that they do something a little more beneficial than maybe just signs? I think I've seen on other bridges, like 100 yards ahead, if you hit this thing, you're going to hit that thing, those type of things that'll just be more indicative of preventing those.
That meeting on Thursday with the engineers, those are some of the items we'll talk about. What are the other than signs that indicate a low bridge, what are the other devices we could employ?
Get a lot of signs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a song about that too.
The engineering department we're meeting with is the one that they did the bridge over in Westwood there that was constantly getting hit.
Yeah, in
with the
Westwood,
light.
didn't they like lower?
Yeah, well,
the whole
but I don't
road?
think
mean,
that's why we're going to meet with them on Thursday morning to
Yeah.
try to get some solutions.
That's a big project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Secondly, just a couple of updates on what's going on with budget. So the finance director, myself, Jen Chameleon from my office, we have begun the process of meeting with department heads to review their operational budget requests. So, the next couple of days is going to be really busy for you all, as department heads will be cycling through to review what they're requesting for the next fiscal year's budget. So after they meet with our team up here, they'll appear before you on the 6th and the 20th, and they'll also be appearing in front of the Finance Committee beginning on the 31st. So the only outstanding item really is we're waiting for the governor's budget to drop. So we have some idea of what the revenues are going to be to the town in conjunction with what we collect locally through fees and taxes. So once the governor drops her budget, we'll have an idea of the town's overall revenue, and then we can look at what the operational requests are and see what we'll be able to fund. So it's a little bit up in the air right now, and we should have some clarity next time we speak. And finally, this office is working with town council and various department heads in the finance committee to finalize warrant articles that have been submitted, both zoning and non-zoning for ATM, which is on May 13th. And that process will continue until we can finalize the articles, which are due back to finance on April 10th, will be the deadline. So that's a little bit about what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Judy. Is there anything else?
Next, we have just a couple of announcements from the clerk, so I'll defer to me. The Canton Helpline Food Pantry is looking for some help in stocking their shelves this winter. You can contact the Helpline Food Pantry for a list of their high-need items, as well as their various drop-off locations. Tickets are on sale for the Friends of the Canton Library Comedy Night fundraiser. There are 2 shows on February 24th, one at 7 o'clock and one at 9 p.m. Tickets in advance are $35, and at the door, if they're available, will be $40. Please contact the library for more information. The town of Canton will be holding a public forum regarding the state's MBTA Communities Initiative tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the Sala Meeting Room. The town administrator, the town planner, and the town housing coordinator will be there to discuss this initiative. The Canton Affordable Housing Trust wants to share that there is an affordable housing opportunity for a condo located in Indian Woods. Details of the property, the requirements, and the details on the lottery process can be found by contacting the Canton Affordable Housing Trust on the town website, as well as the town of Canton social media pages. This is a great opportunity for a teacher or DPW firefighter to get into Canton. The GMS School Building Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 4:30 at the Galvin Middle School to provide an update on this project, and the public is welcome. And the Select Board will hold their next open office hours on Tuesday, January 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. That's all I have.
That's it? Okay, thank you. So next on the agenda would be
The Select Board will hold its next meeting on Tuesday, February 6th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street.
Okay, thank you so much. Next on the agenda would be the public comment. 15 minutes. Again, this is limited to 15 minutes, 3 minutes per person. This is not a question and answer format. So again, your name and there's
Oh, I hate that thing.
I wait until you introduce yourself and
Mine's short,
really
mine's short
get
tonight.
going.
Mine's short tonight.
All right, tonight.
Tonight. Wasn't easy.
All right, you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Here we go.
Rita Lombardi, 8 Kings Road. Monday marks the 2-year anniversary of the brutal murder of John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer. The murder investigation by the Canton and the Mass State Police of this highly respected Boston police officer should have been flawless. Instead, it was highly irregular and flawed, and yet fiercely defended by Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey in his highly unusual and unethical August 25th, chock full of inaccurate statements made to the public. Instead of responsible and investigative reporting by mainstream media, their reporting was minimal and completely biased against Karen Reed. To anyone reading the case filings conflicted with what the media reporting and contributed to the tremendous turmoil within our community. Canton is a beautiful and historic town, but the handling of this murder case and the subsequent gaslighting has torn families and lifelong friends apart in the most unimaginable ways. Everyone in our town has been impacted by this, myself included, and in ways that may never be revealed. For those who get their news from mainstream media or who chose to wait for Karen's March trial, there is great news. Last week, the United States Attorney's Office communicated to the defense and the prosecution that there has been an ongoing federal investigation of the Norfolk District Attorney's Office and the investigation of this murder. The United States Attorney's Office advised that in good conscience, they, the feds, cannot allow Karen Reed to go to trial. The United States Attorney's Office will provide the results of their federal investigation by the end of next week, if not sooner. The feds have the indisputable facts. Karen Reed is factually innocent and she will be exonerated, but she will never be able to get back the last 2 years of her life or the love of her life. I'm sharing this information tonight because mainstream media has failed to report accurately. We have a town in turmoil and who are about to learn the truth, which is going to expose us to significant lawsuits. A few weeks ago, Chief Rafferty was here asking for funding for $240,000 for a brand new kitchen and to replace an already existing fence behind the Canton Police Department. It seems to me that with impending lawsuits from this murder investigation, it would be prudent if we reevaluated priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
15 seconds.
You won't need that. You won't need that.
I
Greg
won't need
Murphy,
that?
19 Wildwood. I just have a request. When the agenda items include materials that are being presented on screen and to the select board, when you publish the minutes, could you also include those materials? I don't know. I think other boards and committees do that. That would be a way to share out that information. Most of that was hard to read from the back row.
Greg, could you just say that again? The stuff that we're looking at, you want that
So
shared?
I think you have it on your Surface, but then it's projected up there. But if people, want to reference it later, I mean, you referred to the mitigation funds was the last one. I'm particularly interested in the documents that Mr. Birmingham shared regarding the energy aggregation. I mean, all those documents that were presented. I mean,
Thank you.
and I'm not just requesting this meeting. I think I'd like to see that be a typical process going forward. That's my request. Thank you.
If this gentleman wants to go first,
We're going back and forth. You're up.
I would like to request to have a little extension on
You have
my
3
time.
minutes.
All right. Leadership, the action of leading a group of people or organization. Leaders help motivate others, provide guidance, build morale, improve the work environment, and initiate action. One would want many of the following in a leader. Effective communication would be a key component to any leader. Examples of what not to do would be calling anyone a fucking random citizen, publicly saying that's not true during a meeting, implying people are lying, when the facts are what they had presented, cutting off public comments. We hope they are able to exhibit accountability, responsibility, to hold themselves and others accountable and take action for their mistakes. We need leaders with long-term thinking to be visionary, to understand the need for continued change, and to be open to trying new approaches to solve problems and improve the process. A reply such as "always been this way" is hardly very visionary. Emotional stability. Leaders exercise good control and regulation over their own behavior and are able to tolerate frustration and stress. Leaders should be able to cope with changes in the environment without having intense emotional reaction. This one seems a little on the self-explanatory side. From where I'm sitting, the wrong individuals are sitting in the right seats. Leadership is coming from, as John Connolly referred to as, the fucking random citizens. We haven't made this personal. You have. You owe our community an apology for making this so hard, for taking up our time, for not taking us serious, for getting mad when we simply asked questions. An apology for willfully putting us in harm's way in hopes to lower the numbers willing to stand and speak the truth. I am sure our strength and ability to unite has surprised you all. It does for me every single week. We are not your enemy. We are your citizens. You owe me an apology for not knowing the bylaws, for enforcing ones that are not there, for not knowing or using the ones that would have given you the right to overrule the bylaw that put your citizens in danger. You owe me an apology for not listening to my fear and my concern that I was sharing in the last meeting, for not valuing the safety of me or the safety of my family or the safety of anyone in this room. We do not have to give our addresses. It is not in the bylaws.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Nicholas Corkery, 28 Old Coach Road. I apologize. I wasn't going to speak tonight. This is just the first meeting I was able to go to.
No, you're entitled to.
Son didn't have baseball for the first time in 100 years on Tuesday. I just want to point a couple things out. I have the utmost respect for Rita, what you're doing. John O'Keefe was a great friend of mine. No one wants justice more for him. But we don't have any information right now. That's why we have a legal system with trials. If there's a big scandal, everyone that was part of the scandal is going to be punished. There's so much light, as you had mentioned, on this subject. No one's hiding. So whatever it is, it's going to be. Until that time, people need to settle down and just allow this to happen. Trial will happen one way or the other. There'll be no justice for John regardless. He's a great man and he's passed, and it's sad. And I was also thinking too, with regards to the leadership situation, total topic, I was not in my head sitting here 5 minutes ago. There's an election process for that. If we don't like a person because of his character, habits, comments, whatever the circumstances may be, there's a whole process that is called election. Vote them out. Get a very good candidate. I think you guys have plans to run candidates. All our problems are solved. There's no reason to come here week after week after week after week with the same thing. We all know the problem is. It will run its course. There will be a thing solving this one way or the other. Some person might not be here next year on the board, or everyone might be here. Problem solved one way or the other. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. I realize you probably want to talk, and I don't mean to dismiss. I don't want to act like I'm dismissive of your feelings. I've watched all the meetings and stuff. I know I didn't recognize a lot of you people without the art and the things that you guys have been wearing, so I apologize for that too. But my point is that I believe strongly in our police. I'm an attorney, so obviously I believe strongly in our justice system. Everything shall play its thing out one way or the other. And if someone doesn't like a candidate, they won't be here.
Sleeves
Or
are
they
too
will.
long.
It's just how it is.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Brenda Sweeney, I was just looking for some clarification on how I can understand what happens in executive session. Like in 2021, there were 21 executive session meetings, but there's only 7 minutes posted for 7 of those meetings. And in 2022, there were 16, but only 7 of the minutes are posted. So I was just wondering if you could explain to me why all the minutes weren't posted, or if they're posted in a certain amount of time, or how that works.
We could make that an agenda item for next meeting and provide an explanation.
Okay, could you include some of the meetings that are posted there? There's pieces that are redacted, like there's 3 topics at the top, and there's one thing that's completely spelled out, and then there's just 2 black boxes. So I don't even know if that's really what you talked about the other 2. So when you redact something, could you at least leave the part of the topic in so we know that that's what you're talking about? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. So if you could, Mr. Chair, through you, if you could be so kind, could you send me an email?
Sure.
With what you'd like to know about executive session, and I'll make that an agenda item. Perhaps we'll have town council come in and explain the legalities of it, if that would be helpful.
Okay, but they should all be posted.
Eventually, yes.
Hi, Elise Cohen. I have a question as far as.
No question. This is not a question and answer. If you have a question, you can.
Okay, then a statement. I'll make it a statement.
Okay, thank you.
I see an officer here tonight, and sometimes I see one and sometimes I don't. And I don't understand what nights he's here, officer is stationed here, and for what reason, and what nights they're not here, and using, detail money to be here. I don't know there's a threat. I don't understand it. And I don't know that other citizens understand it as well. It's kind of an anomaly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded at 9:18. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned.
Unreal. Well, that's your Canton Select Board meeting. That's it. Thank you for hanging out with me for the last 3 hours. I want to thank Melanie Little for coming over and hanging out for a little while. She had to go. She had to do some things with her family, and that's respectable. It was really great having her pop up really quick and just explaining and going through the recent document that we read through tonight to get an actual attorney's take on it, and a lot of a lot of valuable input there. So, Aiden has court on Thursday. They are going to have a meetup outside the courthouse at 8 a.m. in Dedham. I will be there in support. I'm probably going to go sit in the court session, but I will get some footage while I'm out there. I know Tom most likely will be out there streaming, and like I said, I'll get some footage as well too. Yeah, we'll get Melanie back soon when the updates, or if she wants me to go hang on her channel, absolutely, anytime. So let's do this. We're gonna wrap this one up. We're gonna head out. I'm probably gonna take tomorrow off. I have a lot of personal stuff to do, but who knows? Sometimes I pop up with a rando. I might talk about the 3 gentlemen that died in the 3 Kansas City Chief fans that supposedly froze to death. Extremely weird story. That's something that I wanted to get into and start kind of poking my head around and see what I can come up with. So if I have find anything out or poke around, maybe we'll pop up and do a stream. I don't know. I think I'm just going to take tomorrow off. And then essentially Thursday, I will come back and do a recap of Aiden's court hearing. So, thank you all for being here again. If you haven't subscribed, go over and check out Melanie Little. I would love for you to go over there. Attorney Melanie Little on YouTube. Go over and subscribe to her channel. Of course, all the others, Tom, CPU, The Glarer, go over and check them out. Obviously, if you haven't checked out Turtle Boy, you need to be over there and be subscribed. I've been guest hosting over there amongst some of the other creators as well, too. I'm sure we'll have something put together this week over on Aiden's channel. So very nice to see everybody. Thank you for hanging out for the select board meeting. I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to do this before we take off. I'll open up the chat and let's see some turtles and some hearts. I would appreciate it. And we're going to hit the outro here in a second. Thank you all for the support, the subscribes, the super chats, the coffees, everything that came in. I really do appreciate it. And let's see some turtles and hearts on the way out. I'm going to do the short outro tonight. All right, everybody. Have a great night. I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. And free Karen Reed. Have a good night.
It's your true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah. Peeling back the layers, expose the hidden them up. Oh yeah. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. It's your true crime. Unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned. We dive into the crime. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities of the underground. Unraveling the web of evil, no stone left unturned. We dive into the front. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime.